All right, so let's go ahead and officially start our event for tonight. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to t.Lab's Vision Night 2024. So, we are honored to have you join us tonight for this inspiring event. So, Vision Night is a unique opportunity where our students will present and pitch their visionary ideas to our panel of experts. So, this activity will definitely highlight and enhances their analytical communication, and technology skills. So tonight we come together to celebrate our students' vision, faith, and incredible potential. So let us open our hearts and begin this night with a purpose and gratitude. And to start with our event, we're gonna have an opening prayer. So may we please call on Michaela Bridges. Michaela Bridges, if you could please pray us in.
Yes, Miss Apple, I will pray us in. Heavenly Father, thank you for gathering us here today to view everyone's visions, missions, and purposes. Lord, thank you for revealing to all the students here their vision, mission, purpose, the path that you have set before them, a plan that you have already set up, Lord, to change the world. Lord, I pray that you give them all the tools to do so that they may realize their missions, purposes, and visions. Lord, also, I pray that the that after said presentations, Lord, that the people that the ones we have presented to, you have already set up possibilities where they can help us realize our visions, Lord. And I pray that you put more people in our lives that will help us realize our visions. And I pray that everything runs smoothly during this vision night. In Jesus' name I pray, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Michaela, for your wonderful prayer for everyone. So, yep, let's go ahead and move on to our introduction. So, for today, as what I have mentioned, for tonight, we are very grateful that we have many experts that confirmed their participation for today's event. So I will be introducing each and every experts that we currently have on the session right now. So I will be starting with Dr. Tony Lyons. So Dr. Tony Lyons is the Dean of the College of Technology and Engineering at Westcliff University. He's also the president of P2E Solutions LLC and a current member of t.Lab Governance Board. And for his expertise, it's going to be information technology. Let us please give a hand to Dr. Tony Lyons. All right, so for our next expert, we have Mr. Keith Young. So Mr. Keith Young is the CEO of t.Lab and valued partner of t.Lab as well. So Mr. Young was recently nominated for the prestigious Presidential Award for Excellence in Science, Mathematics, and Engineering Mentoring. And for his expertise, it's going to be science and healthcare. Let's give a hand to Mr. Keith Young. All right. So for our next panel of experts, we have Mr. Eric Anderson. He is the founder of Premier Digital and CEO of Grateful Sun Energy. And Mr. Anderson is also the visionary who launched the Actions Video Store for Apple, who transformed it into the first global video storefront. His the groundbreaking work in developing technologies and operational procedures has shaped the digital media world we know today and powering platforms like Netflix, Amazon, and beyond. So everyone, let's give a hand to Mr. Eric Anderson. All right. So for our next panel of experts, we have Mr. Philip Burton. So Mr. Philip Burton is the Vice President of Client Solutions. He is also the founder of Innovation. And Mr. Burton also is a leader in inclusion, innovation, and entrepreneurship with over 20 years of experience. He has also driven business growth and DEI strategies in healthcare, working with an organization like Advocate Healthcare, Roche and Abbott, and also Mr. Burton excels in connecting people, ideas, and actions to foster leadership and innovation. So, everyone, let's give a hand to Mr. Philip Burton. Now, for our next panel of experts, we have Mr. Antonio Varela. So, Mr. Antonio Varela is the program manager, data policy at GM Financial. So, Mr. Varela Jr. is a seasoned expert in data governance and banking compliance with over a decade of experience. He has worked with top firms like PwC and EY and held leadership roles at Wells Fargo, Truist, and Citibank. Currently, he shapes data policies in the auto industry and co-owns the Varela agencies in Michigan with his wife. So let's give a hand to Mr. Antonio Varela. All right. So for our next panel of expert, we have Dr. Tamika Thompson Sloan. So Dr. Thompson is the clinical associate professor of University of Detroit Mercy School of Dentistry. She's a diplomat American Board of Periodontology. And for mentor expertise, it's going to be healthcare. So let's give a hand to Dr. Thompson. And for our next panel of expert, we do have Mr. Leon McKenzie. So Mr. Leon McKenzie is the consultant of McKenzie Consulting and DCIIA. So he holds an MBA in finance from Loyola University Chicago and business certificate from Chicago Management Institute, University of Chicago Booth School of Business. For mentor expertise, it's going to be finance. Let's give a hand to Mr. McKenzie. Now let's have Mr. Evan Lyons. So for Mr. Evan Lyons, he is an investment banking associate, and Mr. Evan Lyons is a distinguished Emory University Grisetta Business School graduate, earning his MBA with a finance concentration and Beta Gamma Sigma honors. So Beta Gamma Sigma honors, just to let you everyone, this is highest honors available, so that's really, really, a strong background. And he also have a background in private equity. Mr. Lyons brings a sharp financial acumen and a passion of driving strategic investments. So let's give a hand to Mr. Evan Lyons. Then we have Mr. Ephraim Gibson. He is a human machine interface buyer at General Motors. So, Mr. Gibson is a Kettering University graduate in industrial engineering with a minor in statistics, and he gained hands on experience through a co op with General Motors, holding roles in purchasing, logistic, supply chain, and manufacturing. Let's give a hand to Mr. Abram Gibson. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. So that's going to be for our panel of expert for today. Now let's go ahead and move on to our sequence of student. So I believe judges just want to confirm you were able to receive the mentor's guide that I sent early this morning. But I believe for Mr. Anderson, it was quite a delay, and I do apologize for that. But just want to make sure that everyone receive it. So for our first um, sequence of students, this is going to be the student that will be bringing to room one or breakout room one. So for the breakout room one, the judges that we're going to have there will be Dr. Thompson, Mr. Keith Young, and Mr. Philip Burton. So for breakout room one, we'll have David Adekola, Samuel Adeniran, Victoria Kolawole, and Mercy Iloba. All right. So, students, please make sure that you know which room you will be joining as well, and which mentor you will be joining for each room. And then for our second sequence of student, this is going to be for the breakout room 2. We have Emmanuel Taiwo, Ayo Akinyemi, Ayo Mudi Muyiden, and Victor Adicola. Okay, all right. So just want to make sure that the students are already in. Now for our third room. Oh,
It's Victor. So for that one, which breakout room should I go into?
all right. Let me show it to you. Here you go, Victor. You're going to be on the breakout room too. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Uh, You're welcome. So for our breakout room 3, we will have E. Akinyemi, Jediel Agolos, and then Inolowa Akinyemi. So students, please make sure that you know which breakout room you will be joining, but nothing to worry. We have Sir Vin making sure that you will be on your right mentors right after this. Okay. Now for our mentors, hold on. Now for our mentors, this is going to be your guide. So for the breakout room 1, we'll have Mr. Young, Mr. Burton, Dr. Tamika Thompson, and I will be your facilitator that will be helping you on that breakout room. Then for our breakout room 2, we have Dr. Tony Lyons, Mr. Eric Anderson, Mr. Antonio Virella, and you will be facilitated by Mrs. Peace Olobusala. And then for breakout room 3, we have Mr. Leon McKenzie, Mr. Evan Lyons, and Mr. Gibson. And you will be facilitated by Mr. Vin. So each of the breakout room, we have a designated facilitator that will be assisting you on helping the student in terms of presentation. Just before I let everyone into their designated breakout rooms, especially for students and mentors, any question or clarification? Any question?
None for me, thank you.
Okay. And then for those parents that is currently here to support their children, we'll make sure that we will be bringing you also to the breakout room from which your children is going to participate. So we'll go first with the students and the mentors, and then right after that, the audience that we have here, such as the parents and then the other students, we will be asking you to join the session after. So if you don't have any question to anyone, I'll go ahead and serve in, open all the breakout room for us to start with the event. Mr. Vin?
Okay, Miss Apple, I will open now all the rooms.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Vin. All right. So, Dr. Thompson will go ahead and start. So you will see there's like other students in here, but for today we will just have 3 students that will be presenting. So we're gonna have David Adekola, then we will have Samuel Adeniran from Nigeria, and then we're gonna have Victoria from Nigeria as well. So we'll start first with David Adekola. Give me one quick second.
Maria, I didn't catch where David was from. I heard you regarding the other two.
Yeah, David is from the US. David Adekola. All right. So, David, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start.
Okay. A prognosis for individuals with CTE. David Adekola, 11th grade. Next slide. My purpose. My purpose is to love God and to exude his gifts bestowed upon me to serve others, and therefore bringing glory to his name, as the verse 1 Peter 4:10 states. As each one has received it, I wasn't done, I'm sorry. As each one has received a special gift, employ it in serving one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. My mission. My mission is to discover the similarities through cases of CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and create a machine that tracks the degeneration of brain matter in these cases. Next slide, please. My vision is to combine my knowledge of neurology, engineering, and previous concussion experience to communicate with potential CTE victims the danger they face, and to invent a product that would track the degeneration of brain matter throughout their life. Success factors, technological skills. What technology is used in the field of neurology? Communication skills. Who do I need to ask for help, and who could I interview that may be on the path of this unfortunate road? Critical thinking skills. What research will be needed to achieve this goal? How could I possibly build upon current technology for this invention? And what if people do not care about the risk of playing through CTE? As stated previously, CTE is a neurological condition that impacts brain function, namely causing the degeneration of brain matter. Symptoms include difficulty focusing, aggression, namely in random eruptive fashion, lack of impulse control, depression, and progressive dementia. The scary part about it is these symptoms may not appear for quite a bit of time. Estimates say symptoms start to appear around the early 40s or a decade or two after playing. So even if you do have it, it will remain dormant. There are a plethora of additional issues that can cause CTE. While racking up concussions are a significant factor, we must also consider the mentality of the players. As someone who has played American football, I have seen firsthand a lot of my teammates that have clearly sustained concussions one week, but then turn around and play a full week of football and then a game. This inadequate rest time can increase brain degeneration rate and increase the risk of CTE. 9-point execution plan. Raise my GPA from a 3.3 unweighted to a 4.0. Increase my ACT practice scores from a 22 to a 36, and apply to Sangamon CEO. Obtain Microsoft technology certifications. Obtain at least 3 monetary scholarships from AP Classroom by May of 2025, and continue doing reading about neurology. Explore shadowing and internships at my local hospital, obtaining first-hand medical experiences. From what I've heard, medical schools like to see someone with medical exposure, and this will be a good way to obtain such exposure. Read the book and movie Concussion about Nigerian neurologists on the road to discovering more about CTE when it wasn't as prevalent, and interview friends and people that I know that have sustained a concussion previously for more variety, and because I know multiple people who have suffered such concussions. Family impact. My vision impact that I see for my immediate family is to reward their time and efforts to my success by becoming a neurologist and achieving my vision of creating a brain degeneration scanner. I will also become a role model towards my younger siblings who also hope to become doctors and successful people in the future. Future generations of football players will be more knowledgeable about the current states of their brains, and the knowledge about this risk could lead to more safety precautions in the equipment provided.
All right. Thank you so much, David Adicola. So, Dr. Thompson, since you're the only expert that we currently have for healthcare, so we'll give you the floor to give your feedback, or if you have questions, clarifications that you would like to ask to David.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Maria. Hi, David.
Perfect.
Thank you for the presentation. That was excellent. So first and foremost, have you done research? Like you said, you're going to continue to read about neurology. Have you done research to see what's out there already so that you're not reinventing the wheel?
I have.
Okay, and what did you find? Did you find anything that can give information resulting whether or not there is brain degeneration in those players that have been exposed to multiple traumatic head injuries?
Yes, there have been multiple studies on players' brains after post-mortem where where their brains would be donated to scientists so that they could examine them, and they found a variety of brain degeneration in some players. For example, if I'm not sure if you would know him, but there was an NFL player that committed suicide around 2011, and he was reported to have severe CTE and head trauma. And there are multiple more examples, but generally a consistent trend is that a lot of these players have experienced like a lot of these players experience like a mental breakdown or mental downfall in their last few years because, as I said, the CTE starts to kick in around the early 40s and like 10 or a decade or two after playing football or after this experience.
Okay. And yes, I believe I actually saw one of the movies that was based on a true story where they went through those various things. So thank you for that.
Okay.
The other thing that I was listening to, you indicated that you wanted to continue and study neurology. Is that correct? And
Yes,
you
ma'am.
also play football.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
play football.
Yes, ma'am.
So are you concerned about the potential impact that it could have on you, especially someone that wants to become a neurologist? Is it possible to think about not playing football, but playing a less of a contact sport that could potentially, if you're looking for scholarship purposes, could get you still those scholarships in addition to your academics while you research this for those players that may feel like they don't have an option?
I have thought about it, and I actually do track as well, but I do shot put, but I've thought about it, but I throughout the years I've been playing, I've really enjoyed it. I started playing it in my sophomore years, and I'm a junior right now, so it's only been 2 years. Obviously, impacts on my brain can occur within this stretch, but I've found myself to really enjoy it and really enjoy the community around it. But I am aware of these impacts, and I've thought about quitting football, but ultimately I decided to stick through at least till high school ends and see if I could get a scholarship, and if not, then I would stop playing.
I mean, like I said, your information and what, oh, I know the last question that I had for you, you talked about basically going into local hospitals. So you have a primary care physician now, right?
Hmm.
Maybe have you ever thought about going to the people that you already go to, that you have a relationship with, to try to see if there's opportunities where they can either welcome you in or put you in contact with somebody else, and then it becomes firsthand transaction where you're utilizing the people you already know.
Yeah, both of my parents are actually doctors. My dad is an OBGYN and my mom is a nephrologist. But and my I remember I was talking to my uncle on my mom's side, and he was saying if you want to, it wasn't about neurology, it was about radiology, but he was saying if you want to, you can come like watch what we do in his clinic, and I was to take up his offer like over this summer. So I have been looking into these opportunities, and also I've heard that like I do this medical program. It's called P4. I'm not sure if you would know it, but medical students would come in and talk to us, and they and I remember them saying that to get to bolster their medical school profile, they would usually go into hospitals or like and learn flu and go into hospitals and clinics and learn phlebotomy and just generally wheel around patients and get like a firsthand view of like what of the impacts of what these patients go through.
Thank you for
Doctor,
that. I don't have any other questions. I do just want to give you a few critiques. I think your presentation was excellent. I think that with as focused as you are, and you are extremely focused, and I can see that in the time that you took to prepare your presentation, the answers that you gave, I am going to suggest that you protect your brain at all costs. And even when some things are good, like I might enjoy eating, but the problem is if I overeat, I'm going to be fat. And if I'm fat, then I can't be a beacon of health for others as a doctor. So I got to kind of watch what I'm doing. And again, you seem like you're going in the right direction, and I know you're going to be successful. So I would challenge you to just rethink, because there's so many things that you can do that might be more enjoyable. And even running won't mess with your brain. And
Yeah.
so just think about those things. And like I said, now I would utilize the resources that I have at home. It sounds like you're already doing that, and then stretch out from there. Other than that, that was great. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes. So You're a dentist, so what struggles do you see? I mean, what are the trials and tribulations that you consistently see as someone that works as in the dentistry industry? Because I've also thought of going into dentistry because I'm not super sure of which field I want to go into, and like yeah.
Okay, so I would say for dentistry is extremely expensive in terms of the training, but there are scholarships available. And I would say that communication is one of the key aspects we have to have as dentists. And it seems like you have that down packed as far as listening. Listening is key because I cannot help you, nor can I address your issues if I'm not willing to listen first. And it seems like you are willing to listen. So I would say that pretty much the infrastructure that relies around dentistry, like insurance. If you're going to take insurance for payment, which a lot of people rely on their insurance, there is a lot of issues with insurance today. So payment, unless you're going to just be a straight non-participant with insurance, is one of the bigger issues that we are dealing with today. And then workforce shortage. So
Mm.
those are our two things. And I am I was a delegate for the American Dental Association. So
Mm.
I'm trying to help resolve or create some of those resolutions that we can take to Congress to be able to get passed so that we can create a stronger workforce and
What are
also go over insurance. Excuse me, go ahead.
what are the resolutions that you've presented to? Uh,
So one of the things is they wanted dentists. They're looking at dental students going and being able to go to local dental offices or in rural areas and actually treat the patients before they actually get their degree. As an educator, I disagree with that completely because they one first are still on their way to getting their degree. And so yes, we have a workforce shortage, but you have to basically look at what the issues are and then you have to be able to address them the proper way. You don't just put anything in place. You have to put the right solutions in place. So I voted against that.
mm. So those would work as like so you're saying that I'm sorry, I was just trying to translate it. So like residents or medical students would like go to these rural areas and or
Nope. So let me clarify, dental students. So
okay.
residents are already doctors. So I don't have any problem with that. They've been trained and certified.
Mhm.
Dental students are in the process of getting their degree. So
Mhm.
no, I would not release them at this point in time.
Okay. And what are the solutions that you've presented?
So the solutions that we've sat down and tried to um, go through is how can we make dental school more affordable so that we don't have this workforce shortage. Now, it won't be an immediate answer because they still have to go through the training. But those are the type of things that we have looked at to try to make sure that we can address the workforce shortage.
Thank you, Miss Thompson. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening to my presentation. And I hope you have a happy new year, happy holidays, happy Christmas, and happy new year.
Thank you, David. The same to you and your family.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can I follow up on a question that Dr. Thompson asked?
Yes, Miss Dr. Nixon.
Can you go to your first slide, your purpose?
Uh, do you want me to share my screen or should I?
No, why don't
Uh,
um,
yeah,
Maria
I'll
go
do
to
it,
it?
Dr.
Go,
Nixon.
go to this first slide, right?
Mm.
And I think Dr. Thompson asked you a great question. Matter of fact, too. Well, all the questions that Dr. Thompson asked are great. So, but and so this was regarding your playing football,
Mhm.
and you said that you play football because you like to play football,
Yeah, I.
right? So,
Mhm.
what does it say your purpose is?
My purpose is to love God and exude His gifts bestowed upon me. Or,
And
or,
what? This keep no. Go back to purpose.
or,
Go back to purpose, because that's what's important here, and it's the reason why we have purpose here. Um, yeah, go back to purpose here. So, just tell me this purpose.
it's to love God and to exude His gifts bestowed upon me, and and bring glory to His name.
So, do you think God wants you to play football?
I wouldn't be. I'm not sure.
Well, okay. So here it is. You said, and you're making a decision to play football, but yet and still you've got this purpose here. And this purpose is to do what?
Is to bestow, is to bring glory to his name. Like,
So I think you need to give that some consideration and give that some thinking. Because do you think God wants those young men, and there might be a few young women, to be victims of CTE?
no, I don't.
Do you think God wants you to resolve this issue or solve this issue by creating a scanner that can detect CTE earlier?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so then I think you need to pray on this and really think about whether you should be playing football. So that's one. The second thing is, have you ever done formal research? Because Dr. Thompson asked you, had you done research, but have you ever done formal research?
What would that? What would formal research include? Like, going,
Okay, so that's excellent. So have you ever been taught how to do research?
not
Okay.
very much.
So I would think you'd want to formally know how to do research. Remember, I sent you an annotated bibliography
Hmm.
of the research that had been done in this area. And one of the questions that I asked you was, um, is it already known the causes of CTE? So remember, your particular research is research that is supposed to look at what? Football players who have CTE, right?
Yes.
And you're supposed to look at what they have in common outside of football to determine whether it's something outside of football that's causing CTE. And as I had went through research, I didn't see that in the research in anywhere. So to make a long kind of thing short, I think you want to listen to what Dr. Thompson said. I think you want to formally take formal research course. There are two that you can take in t.Lab, and then you should be praying on this purpose, because this purpose is guiding you directly. It was the reason why I was so adamant about not including in your purpose any profession that you might have. That's the reason why, because then you'd have in your purpose the profession. No, you got in your purpose basically saying your relationship with God. So you really need to pray on this and think about this. Does that make sense?
Yes, Dr. Nixon.
Bless your son.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you. I thought you did an outstanding job.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nixon. Thank you again, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you.
It's Dr. Thompson, but you're welcome.
Doc,
Yeah.
Dr. Thompson, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Miss Maria, you want to go to the next one?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Thompson and Dr. Nixon. Let me go ahead and have next Samuel Adeniran. Let me go ahead and share his presentation real quick. One moment, please. Samuel?
Good day, everyone. I am Samuel Adeniro from t.Lab Nigeria, focusing on reducing stroke impact. My purpose is to please and glorify God by doing His will, walking in total obedience to His instructions till He calls me home. My mission is to establish specialized stroke centers, raise public awareness, and advocate for better healthcare infrastructure among African Americans and underserved communities in Nigeria. My vision is to create a better, more effective, more robust, and equitable stroke healthcare system, making it affordable and available to all classes and castes in the society. Now, the problem areas. In Nigeria, stroke prevalence is 1.14 per 1,000 in urban areas and 0.69 in rural areas. The stroke mortality rate ranges from 21.2% to 40%, with only 8.6% of hospitals having stroke units. Only 2 centers provide thrombolytic therapy. African Americans have stroke rates 1.15 to 2 times higher, with stroke death rates 40% higher, and only 30 to 40% access to stroke units. Only 10% receive thrombolytic therapy. Globally, there are 15 million strokes each year, with 5.5 million deaths. And what's the cause of ischemic stroke? It's atherosclerosis, blooded clots, embolism, hypoperfusion, and lifestyle factors. Now, who's working on this? Microbraining aims to cut stroke rates by 50% globally. Bruce improved stroke care by 10,000 plus in underserved patients. Chris cut stroke treatment time by up to 50% with AI, while James studies genetic factors in stroke prevention. Now, how do I intend to resolve it? I'll create innovative solutions that zero in early detection, Early detection is vital as it enables timely intervention which can reduce disease severity by up to 70%. 2. Raise awareness for preventive measures. 3. Introduce telemedicine in rural parts of Nigeria and also develop an emergency SMS short code to help people get immediate response. What are the tools I'll be needing? I'll be needing CT MRI scanners, ultrasound devices, thrombolysis and thrombectomy tools, telemedicine platform, and management software. Okay, now the plan in my college years between 2025 to 2029. I will major in pre-med at the Kettering University, focusing on neuroscience and vascular neurosurgery. I will collaborate on research projects that address stroke prevention, treatment, and recovery, and ultimately explore medical technologies to address stroke. Okay, so the plan, my MD PhD between 2030 to 2037. I will focus on exploring neuroprotective therapies, develop biomarkers for early detection and prevention of stroke, and advancing minimally invasive techniques. Now, what's my critical success factor? I will need to improve on my technological skills, my analytical skills, my critical thinking skills. I will need scholarships, financial aid networks, and relationship. What's my 9 point execution plan for the next 12 months? I'll need to increase my GPA from 3.5 to 4.5, obtain technology certifications on medical imaging softwares to increase my ACT to 34, increase my effective reading score from 450 to 1250, continue on my college scholarship and budget planning, attend a pre-college program, prepare for Model UN and realize the Outstanding Delegate Award, complete health data analytics training, and complete the free application for federal student aid. What's the timeline and impact? The approximate timeline is 12 years, from 2025 to 2037. In the future, I aim to reduce stroke impacts globally and locally by 50%. Now, what's the impact of my vision personally? My vision will bring lasting satisfaction, deepen my purpose, and sharpen my skills. The impact of my vision in my family. It will inspire pride, strengthen my family, and improve their well-being. Now, the impact of my vision in the community. It will improve healthcare, inspire change, and strengthen the community. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a great presentation, Samuel. And I will ask Dr. Thompson for any feedback, questions, clarifications with your research project. And then I'll take over the presentation. So you can unshare your screen now.
Samuel, so
Doc-
you are. Dr. Thompson is a world-class researcher and dentist. She may be a little humble, but you just have to know we're looking at a world-class researcher, a world-class instructor, and a world-class dentist. So she certainly understands this very well. So I just need you to know that, and I don't know if that happened before. So go ahead. And thank you, Samuel.
Thank you, sir.
Rhea, may I proceed?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. So thank you, Samuel. So first I want to say I absolutely admire and I can totally feel your passion. You're absolutely passionate about this. I don't know if that actually has impacted some of your close family or the reason why you're passionate, but I'm excited about your passion. So I thank you for the presentation, the organization, and the preparedness. When we have to be prepared in all situations in our life. And I like how, even though the internet kicked Maria off, you were absolutely able to adjust, pivot, and then bring up your presentation and keep moving. And that's what's going to happen in life. The difference between those that succeed and those that don't are the ones who are prepared and they meet opportunity and they're able to pivot and keep moving. So I want to commend you completely on that. Now I want to go to some
Thank you, ma.
specific things. Oh, absolutely. Specific things in your presentation that you had discussed. So first, tell me what is the most important factor that you believe that will reduce the stroke impact?
I would say early detection.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Early detection, ma.
Early detection. Okay. So I could agree with that, early detection. So in order for, are there risk factors for stroke?
Ma?
Are there risk factors for patients or people having strokes?
Risk factor.
Like, what
Yes.
are the reasons that? What are the reasons you know that people have a stroke?
You see symptoms, ma.
Okay, so let me paint a picture for you. Let's say, like, tell me about your diet just briefly. And this is not a long conversation. I just want to ask you a couple of things. So, as far as your diet, would you say you have a good diet or a bad diet?
A good diet, ma.
Okay. Do you exercise? Are you
Yes.
active? Okay.
Lots.
Let's say I have, and do you get sleep? Do you go to sleep and get like 7, 8 hours a night?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's say I put you against another individual and that person doesn't eat very well. Okay. So they eat a lot of fatty foods. They don't exercise. They just sort of play on the video games all day. And at nighttime, when they're supposed to be sleeping, they're not sleeping. Which one has a greater risk of having a stroke?
The person that plays video game.
Okay. So the best treatment is always going to be prevention in the first place. And I heard you talk about that you're going to collaborate on research projects that actually address stroke prevention, treatment, and recovery. So even though there are going to be patients that there are always going to be patients and community members that you're going to be able to service, the best treatment that you can provide for anybody is education and making sure that they don't put themselves in that situation. Now, because of genetics, you're going to have issues anyway because we can't control genetics. So we have to focus on what we can control and not what we can't control. That's where you're going to come in and have patients to treat. You're going to help those people that unfortunately did not help themselves along the way. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I was just asking you about the stroke prevention, just making sure you understood that because I like your presentation, and you put in lifestyle factors, but one of the key things is that as you present this, first you're going to say that there is prevention. And that's the key cure right there, just preventing. And once you talk about that, then you're going to go into, however, we know that everybody is not as disciplined as you because everybody may not know their purpose. So once you go into the prevention, now you're going into the treatment aspects because that's after the fact. So I like your project, but I want to show you something. You mentioned that where's your stroke? People that are having strokes, where is the higher percentage? Was it in urban areas or rural areas?
In the rural areas.
Nope, you actually have it backwards according to your presentation. So let's go to that slide where you talk about urban areas versus rural areas. Okay, here we go right here. So read me that first sentence.
In Nigeria, stroke prevalence is 1.14 per 1,000 in urban areas and 0.69 in rural areas.
Okay, so again, it's higher where?
It's higher in urban areas.
Okay, why do you think that is?
I would say because of the stress they face and the lifestyle factors.
The stress and the lifestyle factors in urban areas?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I would agree with you. So that speaks more to your point about prevention. I'm just showing you your PowerPoint aligns it all for you. So that's why it's going to be so critical for you to first let somebody understand. I understand that prevention is the best way to prevent a stroke. And I understand that we as humans have control over that. Sometimes we don't because of finances, maybe that fast food at if we're going to one restaurant versus another one, it costs more or costs less for like burgers or things like that. So I just want you to pay attention because you have all of the information clearly on your slide. So just make sure you're stepping back and thinking the whole thing through because your presentation was beautiful, but you want to make sure somebody understands that you know it. Just like you sat and you answered and you said rural areas, but it's right off of your slide. And now you know why, because it makes sense what you're saying. Urban areas, they have probably more access to fast food. They're probably more stressed out. They're moving at a faster pace. They're probably not getting the sleep that they need. All of those factors is right here in your presentation. So like I said, you did a good job. Just make sure you pull those factors out that you're talking about and then continue moving forward. Like you said, I love your plan. You sounds like, do you have a regimen? Do you follow a daily regimen? You said yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Well, then, I'm like I said, I'm pretty impressed with what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job. Just take a step back and then continue to move forward. Do you have any questions for me?
Um, Ma, what's your vision?
I'm sorry.
What's your vision?
Oh, my vision, that's a great question. I would say my vision is first to serve God, to use my gifts to benefit others. And that's one of the reasons why I'm still at the University of Detroit Mercy, because I can't tell you all days I'm happy there to teach students. But God does remind me when I get frustrated, He brings one of my good students to me that actually doesn't mind doing the research, that doesn't ask me the question, oh, can you tell me specifically what's on the test? The ones that actually see the patients and dig deeper and want to actually learn, and what they say matches. So I would say my vision is to just be utilized by God to service others, and He'll take care of me because I'm taking care of what He has put me in charge of. That's my vision.
All right, Ma. So, what's your purpose?
My purpose again is to, I'm an intercessor first and foremost. So I am a prayer warrior. It's not like, so say if you said to me, Samuel, oh, we need to pray for my family. I used to say, okay, don't worry, Samuel, I'll pray for them. But now I say, let's pray right now, because honestly, I'm busy and I don't know if I can remember all things to get back to. So I do it right there. One of my mottos is, if you can do it in 2 minutes, you just do it and be done with it.
All right. Thank you, Ma.
Absolutely.
God bless
Thank you,
you.
Samuel.
Thank you, Miss Apple. Thank you, Dr. Nixon.
You're
Thank
welcome. Who's next?
Hello, Dr. Thompson. My name is Michaela Bridges. I am a 12th grade student from Lenox, Michigan, in the USA. And tonight, my presentation is about a future in which late onset Alzheimer's disease is treatable. And I will realize this vision as a neurologist and a medical researcher. My purpose is to align with the divine will of God and in all my ways acknowledge Him. I must live a life that reflects God's glory based on the Word and fully dedicated to Him. I must also use the talents God has granted me to minister to others and spread the gospel. As a neurologist and a medical researcher, my mission is to contribute to the creation of treatments that could cure the most common form of Alzheimer's disease, late onset Alzheimer's disease, which presents in individuals 65 years and older. Doing so would save the lives of the 6.9 million Americans with late onset Alzheimer's disease and save the American healthcare system around $305 billion a year. This would relieve the American healthcare system and countless families paying over $1,300 per week in in-home care to over $5,000 per month in assisted living facilities. In recent years, many pharmaceutical companies have abandoned the research related to developing drugs that would treat Alzheimer's disease because the drugs struggle to reach the brain. This is the case because the brain's blood supply is largely separate from the rest of the body. Also, the blood-brain barrier is difficult to pass through. Therefore, my vision is to pinpoint a viable drug delivery system that would allow drugs treatments to reach the brain and identify an approach that would provide access to said system by the year 2030. This would allow researchers like Dr. Marilyn Albert and Dr. Michael Gallagher at Johns Hopkins University, who are investigating delivering drugs to the brain to treat Alzheimer's disease, to overcome this obstacle and test the effectiveness of drugs that are made to treat Alzheimer's disease. Once my vision is realized, the blood-brain barrier of Alzheimer's patients who are participants in clinical trials will be able to be open long enough for the drugs intended to target the root cause of the disease to pass through and not expose the already vulnerable patients to harmful toxins and pathogens. Furthermore, pharmaceutical companies can continue their cutting-edge research and give hope to more Alzheimer's patients and families by entering them into the growing number of clinical trials. And lastly, the $314 million to $4.46 billion spent by pharmaceutical companies on the research and development of just one drug will be well spent and meaningful. The 5 critical success factors that I identified that would allow me to realize my vision are character and academic performance, networks and relationships, analytical skills, specifically scientific analytical skills, technology skills, more specifically technology skills relating to engineering, and problem solving skills. The first 3 steps in my 9-point execution plan for the next 12 months are to obtain technology certifications in Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, complete the Bloomberg Market Concepts training, and prepare for and participate in the International Youth Neuroscience Association Alzheimer's Ideathon. The next 3 steps in my 9-point execution plan are to prepare for and place top 3 at the Michigan Brain Bee Neuroscience Competition, participate in t.Lab's oratory contest, and create a detailed 4-year plan for my time as an undergraduate researcher and a pre-med student. And the last 3 steps in my 9-point execution plan for the next the next 12 months are to understand and how to operate neuroimaging technologies to use to carry out research, such as electroencephalography or EEG, magnetoencephalography, MEG, and functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI. Then I must network with professors, researchers, and neurologists who are experts in the field of Alzheimer's research and can serve as my mentors. And then I will obtain a research position in one of their labs, and I zeroed on Professor Faghrasadad Amami at Kettering University, who is an expert in biology and pharmacology, and he can also serve as my mentor due to his expertise. And lastly, I must attend the Alzheimer's Association International Conference, in which I will present my research findings to my peers and to experts, and I will network with other research in the field of Alzheimer's research. The way my vision will impact me personally are my relationship with God will be deepened. I will become more empathetic and compassionate to others. And I will increase my problem solving and critical thinking skills, allowing me to identify and solve more issues in the field of healthcare. Next, the ways my vision will impact my family are I will value the time I spend with them more often. I will be able to give back to my parents and other close family members who have helped me realize my vision. And I will provide encouragement and guidance to my younger relatives who will pursue careers in my field of work. And also, the way my vision would impact the world are providing other researchers and pharmaceutical companies with the ability to test the effectiveness of drugs targeting Alzheimer's disease, relieving families of significant financial burdens related to caregiving facilities for their loved ones with Alzheimer's disease, and providing a way for other neurodegenerative disorders to be treated with direct drug delivery to the brain. Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6 was a verse that I meditated on throughout the process of creating my vision presentation, and it reads, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path straight." And that marks the end of my Vision Night presentation, and I want to thank you for listening attentively. Should I stop sharing my screen now?
Oh, yes, please. I'm sorry, I was on mute. Michaela, thank you so much for your presentation. Yeah, we can get the feedback and the question clarification from Dr. Thompson. By the way, Dr. Thompson, before you proceed, Victoria, I still not get your presentation. All right, Dr. Thompson, I'll go ahead and give you the moment to provide feedback to Michaela.
Okay, thank you. Michaela, thank you for that. that is one of my favorite scriptures, and you did just that. You took us on a journey, and this is exactly what the assignment called for, and I love it. So, what do I mean by that? You first identified what the issue was, and then you said, okay, well, now let me look and see what they're already doing. Then you actually named some key people, and what I liked is you actually utilized t.Lab without saying it because of Dr. Nixon, you have an introduction to Kettering University. So why not use this powerful resource and contact that researcher that you're talking about? It makes the most sense. And it is not by happenstance that you happen to be in t.Lab. It's not by happenstance that you have this project and that you have the resources. We have not because we ask not, but I'm glad you're asking. And not only are you asking, you turn around and telling, I will do this. I'm going to do this. I love your plan. I think that it's definitely going to work. The only thing that can get in your way is you, because if you keep your eyes on the prize and not on the process, then you will definitely get there. If your goal is what it is, and I believe that it is, just say something stands in your way one way, you just go another way, but your goal doesn't change. And I love it. You were confident. Your presentation was amazing, and it was well organized. So, like I said, you didn't just hand me a map and tell me to go into the forest. You handed me the map and said, now let me walk you through this process. So I thank you for that. I honestly don't have any questions. I mean, you answered everything that I honestly could think to have. Like, you're going to find things along the way, to be honest, that as you find out different things and you continue to utilize your brain, which is a muscle, like you said, I'm going to develop critical thinking. You don't understand what you're saying when you're saying my relationship with God is going to be deepened, because everything that happens is not going to be great. But guess what? If you stand with God, you can make it through all things. And so that's a testament. A lot of times we have to go through stuff to get to who we are supposed to be. And so I'm just excited about your future. I really am. Sorry, Maria, I don't have questions for her. I mean, you all were amazing so far. Sometimes some people just stand out a little more. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Thank you so much. I do have a question for you, though.
Okay.
So, Dr. Nixon told me that you are a very experienced researcher, and with your expertise in the field, what are some things I can do right now that will prepare me for my very long career in research, additional to the 9 points that I added and the critical success factors that I emphasized?
And I would say that's pretty hard for me to answer only because of the fact that you mapped it out. What you said was, I'm going to contact these people that I have access to teach me the things that I don't already know. I'm going to look up. So if you haven't already, a lot of times we have research where, say, for instance, if you look up on a certain platform, we look at a meta analysis first. So then we look at systematic reviews, because the level of the research tells you how it's scored, meaning that a meta analysis, that's going to be scored higher than a systematic review. A meta analysis is where they look at controlled studies that a lot of times they might be blinded studies. So that way you can get rid of all of the confounding factors, like Dr. Nixon was asking somebody earlier. You want to make sure that what you're saying actually is validated in the process, because too many times researchers will claim stuff, but they haven't accounted for all of those confounding factors. And then they say at the end, more studies are needed. Well, more studies are needed because you really just didn't answer the question. And that's the bottom line. So I think as you keep going and refine your research and make sure the questions are answered, I have no doubt that you will do just that.
Thank you for your answer, Dr. Thompson. That was very helpful. I do have another question for you.
Okay, excellent.
So, often in research, sometimes you will pursue a solution, but you end up finding, hey, this is not the actual answer to this question. So, how do you move back, reevaluate, and find a new path to the solution? How do you essentially move forward?
I love it. So what you said, sometimes you find that this is not the answer to that question. My question to you is it the answer to a different question that is just as impactful? Now, because now you've learned something, there's all, even my greatest failures have taught me the most. I will tell you that. But it's also taught me how to pick up and figure out how to get back going. So you still had the same question. It wasn't answered. What was answered? And what do I need to do to change my research to be able to answer that question? Because I'll look at, like, say for instance, you write a research paper. My goal is to tear the research paper apart, meaning that to make sure everything makes sense. Let me look at your methodologies. Does your methods make sense? Okay, you're testing for diabetes, but you're not collecting any blood work. That doesn't make sense. So I look at your foundation, and does the foundation make sense? Because if the foundation is shaky, everything you build on top of that is going to fall, right? So that's what you
Yes.
try to make sure of in the beginning. And like I said, I don't know, like, is there something about you, something about the presentation? I feel like you will do just that, and you will search for the guidance to make sure that you are absolutely on the right track so that you get to the right answers. Plus, you got to remember, if you walking in your purpose, then your steps are ordered. All right.
Yes. Thank you. One last question.
Okay.
So every day there's new research added to the different journals and the internet. So how do you keep up with the growing number of how do you keep up with the growing number of research, and how do you also incorporate those newfound discoveries in your research that you are currently pursuing?
That's an excellent question. So a lot of times what we'll look at, and let me be first and foremost honest. With my current position and everything that I'm doing, I have not been able to keep up completely, but I have residents. And so a lot of times I'll ask my residents questions so that, one, I can recall an answer, or they can bring me the new information. It's like, okay, what have you guys found out about this? And what's the new technologies regarding this? So in other words, I use collaboration to stay up, because you cannot do everything. But if you are looking to try to do the majority of it yourself, one of the things is, just like I told you, you look at the meta-analysis first, then systematic reviews, because meta-analysis pulls all of those studies together so that you can look at them, and then they break down ones I'm trying not to go too deep, but let's say it has heterogeneity. That just means that, you know what that means?
It's similar. It's the same.
So homogeneity is,
Oh, forgive me. Yes.
yeah, but they look at those that are similar, that they can actually compare. And when they compare them, they can see if what the outcome is really makes sense. So you would do that. You try to categorize. So, because otherwise it's just too broad. And you're right, there's something new coming out every day.
Yes. Thank you for your responses, Dr. Thompson. And it was an honor for you to be able to view my presentation and give me feedback and add to the amount of knowledge I have about the area of research. And I had a pleasure talking to you. Thank you again.
Likewise, Michaela, likewise.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Michaela. And Victoria, since I don't have your slide yet, I'll just make sure that you will go first for the healthcare presentation for it. I'm sorry, Victoria. I'll make sure that you'll go first to the presentation for tomorrow. And I want to make sure that everyone will be on the main session since the breakout room 2 and 3 is done. So I'll be closed. Any feedback, Dr. Nixon, before I'll
Nope.
bring everyone?
Outstanding, Michaela. Dr. Thompson, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you. You know, it's just a mad. It's amazing how God works, and I'll just tell you about it later.
Okay.
All right. So I'll go ahead and
Oh,
bring everyone to the
wow.
main now. Thank you.
So first up, we have Victor Adekola. Victor, please unmute your mic and present your work. Thank you.
Solving Turbulence by Victor Atacola. My purpose. My purpose is to love God and align my life's goals and to achieve God's vision for my life through diligence with prayer and hard work. I want to do this while still honoring my family. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." This means that if I commit to God my daily plans / goals, He'll show me step by step His path for my life. My mission. My mission is to design an aircraft that isn't affected by turbulence. The fear of turbulence causes some people to avoid traveling far distances. Air turbulence is part responsible for aircraft adversary events. By designing a plane from material that is resistant to turbulence, this will decrease the rate of planes crashing and allow for more friends and family that live far away to be together. My vision. My vision is to become a well-rounded, highly respected aerospace engineer. I'm fascinated by the idea of flying, and making this activity safer. I want to make these inventions by observing the world around like the Wright brothers observed birds and studying. Doing this honors my God-given ability. Critical success factors. Critical success factors. Great academic performance, scholarships, finances for research, tech skills, engineering knowledge, and abstract thinking skills. 9-point execution plan. Use my academic regimen to obtain and maintain a GPA of 4.0. Get my master at geography to understand weather and climate patterns affected on planes. Get the Microsoft certification to become a master at all Microsoft products as part of my tech master. Wow. Get my reading level from a 500 to a 1250. Keep working on my TT score to 33. Research available literature on planes and turbulence. Become a master at artificial intelligence and machine learning. Master of prompt engineering. Start looking at potential colleges that have my major. The expert in my major. Family vision. My family puts a lot of effort towards helping me achieve my vision of becoming an aerospace engineer. My success will serve as a good example to the younger twin. Also, I will be useful to my parents and siblings in the future. Personal vision. My vision in aerospace engineering is to design planes from materials less impacted by aerospace current turbulence by repelling the forces and charges of air currents. I see my mission continuing to enlarge and get bigger as God directs. Through my experience, my expertise, lives will be saved through knowledge to know God. My vision for my community creates a safer flight, air transportation. I can inspire kids to be engineers as well. Thank you. Have a great night and holiday.
Thank you very much, Victor. So I'll begin with Mr. Eric Anderson. So please, do you have any questions for Victor?
First, well done, Victor. That was informative. It was well presented. Good job. Some of my first questions is trying to think of things that you could start doing now to bring you closer to your goal. And one of the first things that popped into my head is what have you done research already to determine the causes of turbulence?
A little bit.
Because
one minute more. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Because just something I found when trying to solve problems, one of the best places to start is really getting into what is the cause of the problem, what's the source, and making sure you can get as much of an understanding for that as possible, because that'll help illuminate the path to the best solution.
Okay, I'll do some research about it. I haven't really done that much research about turbulence.
It's a great place to start.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to start.
All right, thank you, Mr. Eric Anderson. Mr. Tony Varela, please, do you have any questions or any feedback for Victor?
Yeah. First of all, awesome presentation. So I really enjoyed it, especially the scripture at the beginning. To tag on what he previously said, to point into research, some things I would point you to is, I know you mentioned materials. To go ahead and, I don't want to say eliminate turbulence, but sort of go ahead and take it down a little bit. Look into some of the natural causes, specifically of turbulence. Natural causes meaning pockets of air. I know you did mention in your presentation geography. So I'll be very curious to see how more turbulence is really more related to natural instances, such as pockets of air, geography, things that could not be controlled, and then help you identify what things can be controlled, and specifically what types of materials would be needed to go ahead and lighten turbulence. The question I would have is, let's see, Wright brothers. So tell me a little research because portion of it is it's a good portion of it's engineering. I did write down the question about the Wright brothers. Tell me a little bit more about what you know about flight and specifically the Wright brothers as a whole.
The Wright brothers are the people who, they aren't the first people who are making planes, but they're the first people to make the first actual plane. They used the properties, physics, and engineering to make the planes.
Yeah, I like it, love it. And then the other thing you mentioned that I wrote down is AI and machine learning. So I mentioned the idea of the materials for the plane. Or you mentioned for turbulence. You also mentioned learning about geography and some of the natural causes. One of the things that you also mentioned was AI and machine learning. How would you tie that into this initiative?
You can use AI and machine learning to you can use it to both learn more about like turbulence and why it happens and how to make stuff that helps it. And you can also use it in a plane too. So it can sense turbulence and then shift to a mode that can help prevent turbulence. But that's just like a theory.
Perfect. And then awesome. And then the last question I would have is you mentioned the why, but I wasn't able to capture it into the specific reason why this interests you. Can you restate that one more time?
I like flying and planes.
Love it too. Awesome. Thank you very much. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tony Varela. To Tony Lyons, please,
Yes,
do you
hi.
have any questions, any feedback for Victor?
Yeah, hi, Victor, and very good job. Very aspirational goals. And my two colleagues mentioned some of the things that I would have mentioned, but I want to follow in on that theme of your research as well. One of the things that, and if you have not done much, then you want to do some research on the skill sets that would normally guide the path of someone going into this particular space, so into this particular profession. So look at some of the skill sets of some of what's required of those type engineers, and ensure that as you are going about your looking at your key success factors and looking at the goals that you have, the steps that you're going to take to get there, then incorporate some of those or ensure that you're taking the steps that would get you to the point of achieving those characteristics or skills that are documented to be important for someone in that profession. Do you understand what I'm saying on that one before I move on?
Yes, I should learn more skills about aerospace engineering.
Yeah, and just what's required and the path that many of them would take to get there and to succeed in that field. The other one was you had some very good that you call them key success factors, or you had some very good things laid out that you were going to do. Your 9-point execution, critical success factors, and your 9-point execution. What I would say is you have some very, very good points there, and maybe all of those right now are key things to do. However, none of them are time boxed. So you might look at some of those and maybe time box them, or think about the time you want to get there. So For some, it's obvious. If you want to, raise your reading score and your ACT score, then by a certain date. You want those by a certain date because you want to be able to measure. First of all, you want to be able to uh, prioritize things so that you're working on those things that are going to become things that you have to realize quicker or sooner than some of the other things. So you want to be able to time box those, and maybe some of those you want to put a date by which you hope to meet some of those goals.
I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's a great start and very good presentation.
Absolutely. Hey, I did have a question. I believe it's Miss Peace. Did the other two join the call?
Yes, please.
They did. Okay, good.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Tony Lyons. Dr. Esther Akinyemi, please, do you have any questions, any feedback for Victor?
Good evening. Thank you for a great presentation. I think it's really great when you have young children thinking ahead of their times and thinking about ways to solve problems. I agree, doing things you can do right now is probably one of the best ways to get closer to your goal. So think about what information can you find and what kind of steps can you take there, knowing that and having concrete things, and definitely making them smart goals that gives you a time limit on what time you're choosing to kind of pursue those things will be very helpful in helping you achieve your goal.
Thank you.
Victor, very good. Thank you so much, Dr. Esther Akinyemi. And Victor, you can stop sharing your screen. And now we'll be moving on to our next student. That's Ayo Akinyemi. Ayo.
Hello?
Hello. You ready?
Hello.
Yeah.
Ayo, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay,
Spreading internet to give people opportunity. My name is Ayolu Akinyemi, and I'm a ninth grade t.Lab student. My purpose is to glorify and please God, and my mission is to reduce the amount of people without internet access to 14% and give them devices to use the internet on. My vision is to become a highly influential computer engineer capable of funding welfare projects and investments around the world. The problem is 1/3 of the world's population, or 2.6 billion people, do not have internet access. Most of these people live in developing and low-income countries. Just 39% of people have internet access, and the countries lack the infrastructure to support providing internet. Many of these countries cannot afford internet, as it typically costs 8.6% of their income, which is 22 times more of a share than in developed countries, where it's only 0.4% of the average income. I intend to resolve this problem by eventually creating a brand of affordable quality laptops costing $50 each, and producing affordable routers with $5 monthly fees to allow those living near and on the line of poverty to afford internet and having the percent of income going towards it. I will use the profits from this to build infrastructure in developing countries and bring internet access to 60% of those without it. Some critical success factors for this plan are my current academic performance, my future masteries of software and hardware engineering, and my critical thinking skills. My 9-point plan in the next year to bring me closer to achieving that vision and that mission is to first increase my GPA to a 4.0, obtain a Microsoft Excel certification, reach an ACT score of 36, achieve an effective reading score of 1,200, begin scholarship and college planning, join MALUN and gain speaking experience in the following school year, take a coding class, begin researching computer chip designs, and further research computer building when I build my next computer. The impacts of this vision on myself are a sense of fulfillment, more earning potential and money, and more relationship opportunities. Impacts on my family are a better understanding of technology. I would be a source of pride for my parents, and I would be able to give back to all of my family members. Impacts of this on the world are people around the world would have more opportunity for self-improvement, increased income overall, and especially in developing countries, more opinions available on the internet, higher standards of living, and more connections that can be made. This is a massive issue that young people and myself must be called to action on. They must focus on it. Billions of people around the world, 1 in every 3 people, completely lack one of the most important resources for success in the modern world. We must do something about this. And thus came my mission. Thank you for listening, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much, Ayo Akinyemi. Please, Mr. Eric Anderson, do you have any feedback, any questions for Ayo?
Yeah, that was a great presentation and an excellent goal. I've got a lot of notes. I'll try not to take too much time. First one that pops into my head is access to the internet. You nailed it. It should be fundamental. It can be transformative for societies and individuals. Something that I think should be kept in mind while pursuing that goal is to maybe tie it also to guidance on healthy use of the internet. For as amazing a resource as it is, it can also be, there can be some negative sides to the internet. And I think, especially when bringing it into the lives of people who have not previously had easy access to it, arming them at the outset with just guidance on best practices for how to use it, how to identify misinformation, things like that, would be helpful. Something else in pursuit of your goal that I think would be good to look into is what are other companies that have tried to do this in the past. In the early days of the internet, not to date myself too much, there was a company called Net Zero who had a very similar goal. Their objective was to make the internet free and available to anyone. Something when pursuing a business idea or any idea that I think can be a strength is to look at, has it been attempted before? And if it has, that should actually be really affirming, because it means that the idea is valid. It's good enough for people to have previously invested in both their time and their money. And it gives you a template to look at and go, all right, what went right about that idea and what went wrong? What could I do differently and improve upon to make it more successful? So Net Zero was a company that tried to do this before. They didn't succeed, but they'd probably be a great resource to research and say, all right, what could I change? I thought the idea of integrating internet access into the router, and then, basically renting the router at $5 a month is a fantastic idea. And then also, you mentioned taking a coding class. Something I would tack onto that is studying logic, especially as AI tools continue to develop. One of the strongest things you'll need going into coding and problem solving is logic. Coding languages change. The principles of how to solve a problem do not. And that comes from logic. An Excel certification is also a great place to start, because if you want to get into coding, Excel is a wonderful place to quickly and easily spec out your apps, test them out. There's almost nothing that you can't build in Excel, and it works really, really quick. And then you listed one of your goals is source of pride for your parents. I'd imagine you already are. Very well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eric Anderson. Mr. Tony Varela, please do you have any feedback or questions for Ayo?
Yes. So one thing I definitely want to give a praise report or praise, the structure of how you presented. You started off with the problem. You second that with how do you solve it, some of the critical success plan, and then you ended with the so what, the impact, which is an awesome format. You mentioned about joining the UN, the Model UN for speaking experience. Taking the structure and how you just spoke just now is definitely a great step forward. So you're not that far off for sure. Some of the things, key critical things that you said, $5 monthly modem as well as $50 laptops. That those would be awesome price points. I would look into how tangible that is at those price points. Let's see. For the coding aspect, Python is a good language to learn. You mentioned the Excel certification or getting certified in Excel. One of the things I really started off with was a language called VBA, Visual Basic for Applications. Fairly easy to learn, but you'll be surprised how far it takes you, which is very, very awesome. One question I will ask for you. Where would you start off? I guess suppose in the affordable internet. What area? What is some of your target audiences specifically? If you were to look at whether it's countries, towns, yeah, what would be your starting point location wise?
Well, if it isn't already taken care of by the time I can start, I'd like to start with Nigeria. They already have a lot of Wi-Fi integration there, so yeah.
Awesome. Good. Thank you for that information. Like I said, I really enjoyed the structure of it. Look into the cost structure of the $5 modems and the $50 laptops. There may be resources already available. I know a lot of companies they might produce mass quantities of laptops that might be very low featured in order to hit that price point. And then again, like I said, for the Excel certification and the coding, putting those two together, look into a language called VBA. I think that would be very beneficial for you. Overall, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tony Varela. Dr. Tony Lyons, please do you have any questions or any feedback for Ayo?
Yeah. Ayo, very good job. Very good area. Aspirational. You would certainly be a pride to not only to your family but to your entire community. The only thing I would add is, you have a path to get there, and you've laid out a very good path. Uh, some of your success factors up front. I mean, they to get to a 4.0 to sometimes on those things. I mean, it's great, and that's obvious. The ultimate goal, and I think that you may should be able to reword that and maintain an A grade point average, because sometimes if you get an A minus in a course, that could throw you from a 4.0, and I wouldn't want you to feel like you have not met one of your key target success factors. So I mean, it's just a way of looking at it, but it doesn't mean that you are lowering it. It just means that you maintain an A average and accommodate for some things that would be outside your control. Another thing is your research. I would also encourage you to research areas of internet providers, non-traditional internet providers, just to look at what's out there today. And that goes along with, in terms of the courses. A couple of my colleagues, they already recommended a couple other type of courses to add with your coding. What I would also say is look at what I would call just the basic telecommunications, understanding telecommunications as part of that as well, as part of your research. So because your problem and your proposed solution that you're working towards, and a whole lot of instances would be one of communication capabilities and what's out there and different ways or non-traditional ways of providing those. So add that to your research. And I believe that's all the additional things I had. Thank you. Very good job.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tony Lyons. Dr. Esther Akinyemi, please, do you have any questions or feedback for Ayo?
Thank you. And I, as your mom, I just want to say yes, we are proud of you, and I'm really, really proud of the presentation that you've made tonight. In the interest of full disclosure, other than the conversation before this, I actually am hearing this for the very first time. So it's between him and Dr. Nixon. So a few things. One, I definitely want you to kind of keep working on your structure and presentation as you begin to think about who you're going to talk to, and beginning to tailor your presentation to each of those places. And I do want to kind of make sure that you took notes. And if you didn't, maybe get the recording and take notes from all the people who have given you feedback. Research the people that they've told you to research, the different companies, and begin to think about concrete actions that you can take. You mentioned your work with Nigeria. So probably defining that a little bit more and not necessarily expecting somebody else to take it over or I've done it by the time you get there. So starting now, do the research. What can you do in that community right now to kind of begin to get you towards your own goal? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Esther Akinyemi. Thank you very much. Up next, we have Emmanuel Taiwo. Emmanuel Taiwo, please share your screen and proceed. Thank you.
Okay. Good day, everyone. My name is Tao Emmanuel, and this is my vision: building sustainable communities. First, what is my purpose? My purpose is to please God, and I will do that by developing my God-given talents to their fullest potential and honor my family while inspiring others through faith and hard work. What is my mission? Sorry. My mission is to revolutionize affordable housing in Nigeria by leveraging sustainable and innovative construction techniques tailored to rural and underserved areas. What is my vision? My vision is to be one of the civil engineers who will make Nigeria a better country, mostly by focusing on the urban infrastructure development. What is the benefit of this urban infrastructure development? Why is this so important? The urban infrastructure development improves the economy, creates jobs, enhances living standards. If this is accomplished, it will reduce slums by a percentage of 20 to 30% and promote sustainability by 50 to 70%. Here are my critical success factors: character, academic performance, scholarship, financial aid network and relationships, technology skills, analytical skills, critical thinking skills. What is the problem? Many people lack access to safe and affordable homes, resulting in overcrowded living conditions and slums. Rapid migration to cities overwhelms urban areas, causing unplanned settlements and poor living standards. It's estimated that about 85% of the urban population live in single rooms, often with 8 or 12 persons per room, and about 13% of the world's population is homeless. How will I solve this problem? First, I will design homes that maximize natural ventilation and lighting to reduce energy use. I will also use innovative materials like interlocking and 3D printed houses to reduce cost. I will establish centralized facilities in strategic locations like Lagos, Kano, and Ibadan for producing interlocking bricks and 3D printing materials. I will design modular homes that are quick to build and adaptive for different family sizes. My 9-point execution plan towards the next 12 months are increasing my GPA from 3.1 to 4.0, obtaining technology certifications, increasing my ACT score to 36, studying more about civil engineering, take online courses, engage with local construction workers, identify local problems and solutions, develop a clear proposal, and build networks and showcase my vision. Impact of my vision personally. Well, we are our personal growth, career fulfillment, legacy and influence, confidence and resilience. Impacts of this vision on my family. It improves financial stability, pride and recognition, inspiration for siblings and relatives, access to better opportunities. What is the impact of my vision on my country? My vision will provide affordable, safe and sustainable housing which improves living standards for millions, reducing overcrowding and poverty. It also impacts others, especially students, to pursue careers in engineering and innovation. If this vision is accomplished, the defect of 28 million units could increase the proportion of Nigerians with adequate housing by 50 to 70%. Isaiah 58 verse 12. Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old fountain. The reason why I admire this verse is because it highlights the act of restoring and building for the betterment of communities. Thank you.
Thank you too, Emmanuel. So I'll begin with Mr. Eric Anderson. Do you have any feedback, any questions for Emmanuel?
Great job, and a great goal. Something to think about with a novel approach to housing is what goes into a house and what are the purposes of a house. You know, shelter, sanitation, water, power, and to maybe break down your goal into how will each one of these be addressed, and how some of the addressing one can actually address more than one. An example would be sanitation and collection of sanitation can lead to the production of biogas, which can be used for cooking, heating, and power production. So as you sort of break your goal up into the smaller goals that create it, and do research into each one, you might find solutions that you hadn't anticipated. Another thing typically involved when you get into construction is there's the ideas of what you want to do and the innovation of it, but then it's also what are you going to be allowed to do? Meaning, what are the rules and regulations of where you're trying to build? Where are there going to be restrictions? What are the practical applications of taking your design and your idea out into the real world? And what are the roadblocks that you think you're going to encounter? Doing the research into what those are ahead of time will save you a lot of time and make it far more likely you can achieve your goal. And most of that information is often available. And that's all I have. It's a great goal and a great plan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Tony Virella, please, any feedback, any questions for Emmanuel?
Yes, ma'am. So first of all, I would like to give big praise. You were mentioning and started presenting. One of the things that first popped in my mind was 3D printed homes. That's very much a very hot topic right now, and it's I would say probably in the next 5 to 10 years, and it's specifically a hot topic because of supply chain management. Supply chain management. How can we get the resources to build these houses in a timely manner? Of course, with the COVID pandemic, that really shifted a lot of gears into supply chain management and not being able to get the resources to these locations to build these homes. So 3D printing was a big resource and a big topic that really developed out of that. So first of all, I would like to say good praise on doing that type of research and that you picked up on that. Another thing I would say that I did would suggest researching is a topic called tiny homes. It's not necessarily small homes, but the idea of tiny homes are basically mass-produced housing in communities where it's supposed to be more affordably priced. So that's a topic I would look into. Let's see. Another thing I will look into is communities, community-based shared resources. The idea of that once you start building these homes, you can build them in communities where it can share resources, as you mentioned, such as waste disposal, etc. A question I did have for you, jumping back, is you said two tech certs. Did you have any in mind, or what would you what were you thinking? What give me an example of a tech cert that you would like to get?
I haven't really made the research so far.
Okay. No worries, no worries. Let's see. And I did another praise is that I did like in your presentation, you mentioned that engaging with local construction, because overall you can get the supplies, supply chain management, but if you have not engaged with the local construction workers to do the logistics, it pretty much goes nowhere. So I do want to give that praise about the idea of not only looking or knowing about their 3D printing homes, but then also having the mindset to go ahead and engage local construction workers. But overall, I want to leave you with this. Like I said, look into a topic called tiny homes. Look into a study called supply chain management. And overall, that would help you create affordable homes, not just based off the materials, but also based off of construction as well as logistics. But ultimately, man, it was an awesome presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tony Varela. Dr. Lyons, please, do you have any feedback or any questions for Emmanuel, sir?
Yeah, just a couple I'll add for Emmanuel. Great job. And a very good goal that you have set for yourself. Why did you select this goal? What led you to select this goal?
Well, to be truthful, I wanted to be a civil engineer in the first place. So I thought of it, okay, I want to be a civil engineer. How can I help people? What can I do to make people better? So I went to research. I went to research on what is the main problem that I can focus on. I saw the housing problem. People don't can't is not some people don't can't afford home, but the percentage of people living sustainable homes is not much. It's like about 35%. So I thought, since I'm in the area of civil engineering, I can help in some ways. That's why I chose that aspect.
Very good. And I think that having that type of clear, um, understanding and perspective of why you chose it will help lead you directionally as you move forward to achieve your goals here. Very, very good goal. The only other thing that I would add is sort of on the same line. You talked about obtaining a technology certification. I would do a little research in the specific types of certifications that are closely aligned to the civil engineer. So you might want to do the research and try to, if there are certifications you can obtain, maybe target those certifications to those things. So it may be areas of construction or areas of structural type engineering, things like environmental design, all of those things that would be complementary to what you are trying to achieve. So maybe you can target your technology certifications into those areas that will help get you to where you want to go.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lyons. Dr. Esther Akinyemi, please, do you have any feedback? Any questions for Emmanuel?
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for a great presentation. I agree with you. Housing is the problem, not just where you are, but in a lot of places. So finding ways to kind of make it better is always going to be a good idea. Now, I'm actually going to call my husband, who is right here with me. He's a civil engineer, and I think he's going to be able to give you feedback right up, in his own alley. Right. So hold on for him.
Hi, Emmanuel. Very proud of you. Really glad you were able to share some of the things that you shared. I'm going to let you know. When I was about your age, one of the reasons I became a civil engineer is to solve problems like some of the things you've discussed. But now let me bring some of the things I've learned over the past 30 years or so, since I have ventured in this journey. As you're beginning to think about solving housing and housing problem, don't just limit it to individual housing. Think about community planning, town planning. So when you get to college and you're planning and you're taking courses, think about taking additional courses in urban and regional planning or town planning. What that does is, you're solving a problem in a place like Nigeria. You need to realize that people will build homes um, 20 miles away, 10 miles away, and the logistics of people getting to a place of work becomes really, really difficult. So think about, if you're working in Lagos and you are living in Ogiri, or you are living in places near Redemption Camp, what does travel to Lagos Island looks like, right? So think about, what can we build in a place where commuting becomes less difficult? Um, can we also help with infrastructure development so that people can work and live near where they live? Whatever it is you're building, as you're talking about Kano, Kaduna, Ibadan, and things like that, think about, how do we replicate? Because what works and the design that works in Lagos doesn't work well in Kaduna, because the sun is going to kill you and the heat is going to kill you in Kaduna, but the rain is going to flood your house and move your house away in Lagos. So you got to think about where you are and how do you replicate that. When you get to college, think about materials engineering, because it allows that adaptability and ability to maximize what you do. Some of the skills, like the previous contributors have spoken about, as you're looking at technology to imbibe, think about AutoCAD, think about these computer aided design skills, because it allows you to be more nimble and flexible as you get into practice. In Nigeria, one of the things you don't think about when you're designing these homes is your drainage system. Think about, hydraulics and things like that as you go through school. I want you to think about local sourcing of your material, right? Don't be thinking about, I'm going to import this tile from, this country or whatever, because it generally will make it such that folks that you want to build this for can't afford it. Think about local source of material. Think about manpower and skill development. Don't give people fish, teach them how to fish, right? So as you're building your workforce, build workforce that will become independent, and they can also find a way to do other things. So you're not just so you're also contributing to the greater community and skills building. But man, I'm really excited about all of the things that you've set up. I think you're going to go very far. And when you become a civil engineer, make sure you keep in touch. I would like to keep in touch with you. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much to Mr. Anderson, Mr. Virelli, Dr. Lyons, Dr. Akinyemi, and Reverend Akinyemi. We are very grateful for the feedback. We are very grateful because not only have you been a source of encouragement, you've also been a source of inspiration, to show us where we need to go back and look at on the drawing board. I pray for all of you that God will continue to add to your greatness. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, the fourth person is unable to join us due to technical issues. So hopefully he will be presenting tomorrow. So thank you once more. I'll just inform the hostess that we are done so she can return us to the main room. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Great job.
Awesome job.
Awesome. Yes.
Excuse me, Miss Disposola. Are we to go back to the main room? Are we to stay here?
Yes. Mrs. Apple should be returning us to the main room any minute now. Although we could leave, individually if we wanted.
Okay. Thank you
Oh,
so
yeah,
much.
thank you too. Thank you too. Okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. Mary. Thank you so much, Victor. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you so much, James. So, guys, how was that? How was that, guys?
It was good.
Nice. So nice.
Now, did you guys learn anything? That's the important part of this.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Okay. So let me start with Victor. Victor, what did you learn?
I learned about airplanes and AI.
Okay. So tell me, how would we be taking what we have learned and using it to further our vision? How would we be doing that?
To use AI to learn more about turbulence in airplanes and airplane turbulent resistance.
Okay. Emmanuel, what did you learn?
Well, I learned that in the aspect of my vision is a really large vision, and I need to be very specific on the aspects I really want to focus on. Because if I say I want to I want to let affordable housing be a normal thing, I have to also think of the drainage and electricity, which I didn't actually think of before.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
we're supposed to leave now.
Yes. So let's return to the main session. Thank you all. See you on the other side.
Hello, good evening to all of our students and panel of experts. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So, once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Breakout Room 3. My name is Bernard Abangin, one of the staff of t.Lab, and I will be your facilitator for this session. In this room, we have the privilege of hearing from some of our outstanding students who will share their vision statements for their future. So let us also welcome our esteemed experts here in Breakout Room 3. We have Mr. Leon Mackenzie. Hello, Sir Leon. Good evening. We also have Mr. Ivan Lyons. We also have Mr. Ephraim Gibson. So our panel of experts will provide their valuable insights and feedbacks after each presentation of our students. Our first presenter is Mr. Iyi Akinyemi. Iyi, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any presentation? You can share your screen.
So I'm Iolua Akinyemi from Northville, Michigan, from the United States branch of t.Lab. My vision is a world where there's education for everyone, and I want to eliminate the scourge of multidimensional illiteracy. My purpose is to glorify God by helping others. My mission to develop innovative tools and programs to provide access to quality education for underserved communities so everyone has a chance to get for a better future. My vision is to become a leader in data science and bridge the education gap by leveraging technology and partnering with governments to create sustainable solutions for learning access worldwide. So there are four main problem areas when it comes to education access: lack of affordable materials, poor infrastructure, high cost for low-income families, and limited qualified teachers in remote areas. 50% of students don't have textbooks. 35% of schools don't have electricity. 40% of schools don't even have basic hand washing facilities. 60% of families spend more than 10% of their income on education. It's not
which isn't viable for all families. And in places like such as sub-Saharan Africa, there are teacher shortages that leave classrooms overcrowded or schools understaffed. But where do all these problems come from? A lack of easily accessible learning resources. So how do I want to solve this problem? I want to create an affordable digital learning device and develop platforms online that can give free educational content and advocate for policies to fund educational content such as this. So what I need to do, I'll need 4 critical success factors. My academic performance will need to go up. I need to be a better student. I need to master I need to master data analyzing tools, all the present ones. I need to gain familiarity with all the data science techniques as they come in, and I need to improve my critical thinking skills so I can solve problems as they arise. 6 points for me to work on to get here. I need to research education challenges. I need to volunteer in education-focused initiatives. I need to create online resources with what I have now. I need to raise awareness through school projects. I need to learn data tools for education advocacy, and I need to apply for scholarships supporting education advocacy. How this impact for me I'm going to be a more full student, a more full person, and a better learner. For my family, I'm going to be able to support my siblings, be a role model, and just be able to give back to my family. But for the world, it's going to bridge the education gap. It's going to make more diverse to the workplace. It's going to create the leaders of the future, the people who put us in the next level of humanity. Education isn't a right. Education is a right, not a privilege. Together, we can make this a reality and not just an ideal. Through donating, volunteering, and spreading awareness, we can work to create the future we want to see. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. E. Akinyemi. So I think let's give a thumbs up to Mr. E. Can we give a thumbs up to Mr. E? And now let's hear some feedback and advice from our panel of experts. Let's start with Mr. Mackenzie.
First I want to thank him for presenting what he presented. It really hit home. I tell you, it really did. I tell you, many years ago, I had a mentor of mine before I didn't even have a bachelor's degree, but I had an investment license, and I used to go to the same church with Dr. Herbert Odom, and Dr. Herbert Odom told me that if I didn't get finish my bachelor's degree, that I would hit a glass ceiling. Okay. So in school, I was having problems with some of the different subject areas. So what happened was my parents got me tutors, right? They got me tutors, but I always had the determination, that drive, the inner drive, that don't quit, right? No matter how tough it may be. So when I saw your presentation today, it reminded me of how I had people in my life to help me and assist me with different things as it pertains to, diversity, equity, inclusion. And that's probably why I'm on the committee now for all the different asset managers, record keepers, different consultants, globally, pushing, diversity, equity, inclusion in the financial services arena. But then also I'm passionate about, when it comes to education. I really think that you're onto something here. I think that everybody deserves a opportunity, to thrive, right? I'm grateful for my dad and my mom who got me that individual tutor to sit next to me and teach me those subject areas, right? If I had to say this, I should have owned a tutoring place. And the reason why, I've spent so much money on tutoring for so many years, right? So I've always been really hard on my daughters to make sure that no matter what school or college that they go to, that they get, raise your hand if you need help early on versus later on. So I would most definitely stay in contact with you even after, this session today. Because I think this hits home with me. So I'm very passionate about this. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow,
you
thank you so much, Mr. Leon Mackenzie. And now let's proceed to Mr. Lyons. Any feedback, advices, or any comments?
Yeah, I think overall, definitely, I think education is always going to be important everywhere in the world. So, not to repeat, I think Mr. McKinsey made a lot of good points. So, I'll just ask a couple questions. So, you talked about wanting to bring more access to education. Is there a particular aspect of education? So whether it be like vocational skills or computer skills or just general education?
I believe I'm general education.
Okay, and that's
overall.
fine. Okay, that's cool. I would challenge you to also think about if there might be more specific aspects of education that might be helpful given the population that you're focusing on. I know at least here in the US, there's starting to become more of an emphasis on vocational and trade skills and things like that. So perhaps there might be an opportunity there.
Okay.
And then, partly out of curiosity, how did you choose to focus on sub-Saharan Africa?
I was honestly just looking for. I was just on the internet searching through just find some examples of what I was trying to talk about because it's something that I know, but I need to find actual examples to write down, and I've just something that I found on when I was looking.
Completely fair. Also, just for my curiosity, you brought up some very interesting statistics around access to education. Can you talk to me about how you did your research and where you found some of that information?
Once again, it's just really I was just Google search. I mean, I did a little bit on Google Scholar, but for the most part, I was just looking around to find stats that showed what I did because we already know that a lot of this stuff we already know these are phenomena, these are problems that are happening in the world, but you need to go out to try to find a place that actually said, yeah, this is happening. I think I know I have a reference sheet and somewhere, but if you want me to show it to you, but
no, not at all. Like I said, it was more so just for my own curiosity.
Okay.
And then along those lines, though, in terms of the statistics that you brought up around the lack of access, have you thought about like what does success look like with this idea? So if they're at a certain level today, have you thought about like what level of access for you would mean success? And it's okay if not. It's okay if not. I guess I would encourage you to also kind of think about that. I think one of the things that can be very helpful as you think about these ideas and also other big ideas that you will have is also continuing to think about what does success look like to you. Because otherwise you may not realize when you reach success.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Yeah.
And then last question for me. So you said in terms of what you need to focus on to help build this idea, focus on data analyzing tools, data analysis tools. I'm just curious if you can talk to me a little bit about how you thought about that.
At first, I think maybe I was thinking about education, but I know what I'm good at. Data analytics, that's kind of stats, that's kind of what I'm good at. And I figured you have to find where exactly you need to fix the problems, what exactly you need to do before you do it. That's why I wanted to be in data analytics. I want to be able to pinpoint where exactly I'll be the most effective in actually helping people.
Makes total sense, and I think that's spot on. So that will serve you well. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Ivan Lyons.
Evan, if you don't mind me piggybacking on your observation, as I think more about the young man, when I used to take care of the entire Chicago public school system, which was mainly minorities, right? And that vocational part means a whole lot, right? Because I watched during the COVID era, there was more people that was in need of like different vocational skills than some of the. Not saying the other ones wasn't needed, but there happened to be more jobs and opportunities in those particular areas, right? But then I used to take care of the entire archdiocese of Chicago, all of the different Catholic schools and all of Illinois, right? All of them, right? No matter where it was located at. And I looked at the differences between the two. And when I saw the differences between the two, one area had a lot more resources than the other. They just did. I would walk into a classroom, they already had Apple computers. I mean, the latest technology and everything. But when I would go to the Chicago public school system in the area where I was servicing, they didn't have that. They were lucky if they had new books. I'll say it that way. So just wanted to add that in there.
It's something sorry, it's something I don't definitely see. I'm privileged. I go to Northville High School. It's a very it's in a very expensive area. It's great school and everything, but I've also been to schools that don't have the advantages that I have, and I can definitely see the difference. And that's kind of what I'm trying to help. I'm trying to bridge. I'm trying to shrink that gap.
I will just say privilege is relative. So don't feel too bad.
I don't feel bad. I mean, if you have something, take it, right?
And sorry, one thing, if I can actually jump back in, as Mr. McKenzie was talking, it came to my mind as well. So in terms of the money, and I guess finding like the money to pay for it, I guess this is more of a suggestion than a question. But I would encourage you as well, especially public types of projects like this, governments, whether it be the sub-Saharan African governments as well as the wider international community. But there's always money for good ideas, and especially good ideas that are going to help the public.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'll think about that.
Okay, again, thank you so much, Mr. Ivan Lyons and Mr. Leon Mackenzie. And now let us proceed to Mr. Gibson. Do you have any
thank you.
comments?
I think Mr. Lyons and Mr. McKenzie brought up a lot of good points. I think one thing that kind of I took from that, I think you both mentioned vocational training and some of like the areas that kind of lack that. And I think in the education piece of it, I think you could definitely focus on one, education itself, right? Just providing that education to areas, the general education, but then in that education also, kind of career planning, right? I feel like education is one thing, but I feel like education on careers and like the careers necessary is like another one. I feel like there's a lot of people, even like thinking about like me growing up in high school, I feel like I've always had an opportunity to have a good education, but I didn't always know, what I wanted to do with that. Or like I would see these, things I wanted in life and didn't always know, how to get there. So I think in addition to, the education, definitely, making it aware of like what it takes or like different jobs that are applicable, right? I think vocational training is definitely something that's needed now, right? I think looking at the markets and things like that, and seeing what's, jobs that aren't being filled, right? So I think definitely defining that would be good. But then also I think just trying to bring education to everyone is always a good thing. I mean, just in the U.S., right? You look at people, who live across the street from us don't always have education. I feel like finding a way to bridge that is definitely cool. I think one thing is definitely important is like incentivizing people to also provide that education, right? Because I think you mentioned, I think teachers, finding good teachers to teach in the areas, right? I think a lot of colleges try to incentivize people with, paying off college tuition if they go and teach in these areas. But I feel like finding some way to incentivize people to, help you is definitely something, you want to also think about, because kind of like Evan said with like the financial piece of it, right? You want to be able to do it all on your own. You definitely need partners and, people to kind of partner with you to, reach your wider goals. I think definitely thinking about one, how you're going to get them the education, but then two, how you're going to incentivize or encourage people to, help you out with that education too. But I think other than that, I mean, I think you're definitely, moving in the right direction. I think data, science and data, analytics is definitely a good way to be able to, analyze and comprehend the data that you're probably going to be getting in about the areas that, need the education and kind of what type of education suits them the most. But definitely think, you want to think about also the team you're going to put around you to help you, with that goal. Because, right, it's easier to do it when you have people around you that, they have resources, they have knowledge, they have things that maybe you don't have, right? So I think once you bring all those things together, it just makes that goal, so much easier. So that's all really wanted to add, but I think you're definitely moving in the right direction with it, though.
Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Gibson, and to all our panels. Thank you so much for your great insights for the presentation of Mr. E. Akinyemi. Congratulations, Mr. E. Akinyemi. Good job. So next up, we have Mr. Jigadiel Agaluos. Please go ahead with your presentation, Mr. Jagu.
For my purpose is to follow the divine guidance of God, nurturing a strong and faithful relationship with Him. Through dedication and trust in His plan, I strive to fulfill a higher purpose that serves God and honors my values. My mission is to pursue as a knowledge worker, combining both mechanical, electrical, and computer engineering to create a business as an entrepreneur that solves real-world problems. By taking advantage of technology with this academical knowledge, I aim to support my family, my friends, and to make a positive difference in the world. Through my work, I strive to create products and solutions powered by clean energy supported by artificial intelligence. From my vision, I envision myself building products that uses clean energy and artificial intelligence, aiming to be able to secure the safety of people and make their lives easier. I envision myself in a successful life, supporting my family and friends, whilst contributing to a future where technology makes life easier and more meaningful. For my critical success factors, I got time management as discipline, high educational degrees, problem-solving skills, internships, leadership skills, communication, sales or marketing skills, and money managing skills. My 9-point execution plan for the next 12 months are increasing my GPA to 4.0, increasing my ACT score from a 20 to a 26, learn Python from computer science, study the fundamentals of starting a business, whether it be sales, product development, and more, achieve mastery on a learning system, become disciplined to focus on achieving my goals no matter what, and start a business this year or get a source of income, choose a class specifically for electrical engineering, and choosing a class for mechanical engineering. The impacts of my vision. For my personal life, it would be financial freedom, personal growth and development, significant increase in knowledge and experience, and confidence and purpose in my life. For my family, it would be setting a positive example, many opportunities for younger generations, elevating family status in terms of wealth, and stability for difficult times. For my community, it would be improved safety and accessibility, inspiration for others, supporting local development, and supporting educational growth. And that would be all for my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jago. Wonderful job. Now, panelists, we'd love to hear your thoughts on Jagadel's presentation. Let's start now with Mr. Lyons.
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. One question just to make sure that I understand properly. So your vision is it like a manufacturing company to build various types of products using clean energy support or using clean energy and AI?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure that I understood that. I think overall the presentation was nice. I think one suggestion I would say is it's always very important early on to make sure you have that central point that people can kind of continue through the rest of the presentation with. So upfront, just make sure that you're clear with it. But overall, I mean, look, I like the idea. I think, frankly, I actually was taking notes, and I said when you said financial freedom was one of your top motivations, I love that. It's not bad to say that financial freedom and frankly money is important. not only for you and your family, but also look, if it's going to be a good idea, it needs to make money, because if people don't want to buy it or pay for it, then I guess there are questions as to how good of an idea it is. A couple questions I have. Sorry, you'll hear my daughter coming over. So one question I had was actually, if you can go back to one of the slides. Sorry, it went through a little quick for me. Come here.
Which one?
I think it's slide 6, maybe. Sorry, you got my daughter saying hello. Just got done with bath time. It might be the previous slide. Right. So I think all of these are definitely important, regardless of what you are pursuing. I think I also really like that you led with time management and discipline. I mean, frankly, without those two core things, nothing else really matters.
Yes.
So I think that's really good. In terms of the idea and products, have you considered specific areas of products that you would like to focus on building? Yeah, whether it be like building products or new technology or manufacturing phones or computers or I don't know, like beds or any specific type of product.
Oh, I think it's similar to like sustainability. Like plastic, it's like polluting our like planet. So I might want to build some type of plastic that doesn't pollute and lasts a long time.
And yeah, I think given how widely used plastic is, and frankly, the world's addiction to plastic, I think that's a great area. I would also encourage you then, similar to the last person, think about also the partners that you'll need in terms of the research, the chemical side of it, in terms of how to produce that. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lyons. And now let's proceed to Mr. Gibson.
Yeah, thank you. No, I definitely love this idea. Just the concept of using clean energy, trying clean up the earth, trying to be more conscious about the supplies and things that we use, kind of the lasting impact. I guess my initial question when you said clean energy is, what kind of clean energy were you thinking of? Were you thinking like hydropower, wind energy, was solar energy? Like what was kind of, obviously you don't have to have it all figured out now, but did you in your mind have like a certain kind of energy that you would be looking to like focus on?
So the type of energy I would like to focus on is hydropower, since it's not like typically not, it's like not how do I say this? It's not looked into yet. So like we don't have any hydropowered cars yet, or like any hydropower, like we're not using hydropower electricity for our houses. So it might be a good way to like invest into, since it's not being used.
Got you. Yeah, and kind of with that, I know you mentioned like the manufacturing into it. If you have like a manufacturing facility that you have, I think it would be important to kind of understand, locationally, where could you harness a lot of, hydropower, right? Do you want to put it by a river? Do you want to put it in a certain, spot where you can kind of harness the water without also, interrupting the natural flow of the water, right? Because you want to be conscious about the flow of the water and kind of the ecosystem around it, but and like also like kind of the waste I guess you have from your facility. But I think I have a supplier that I used to work with over in Asia, and they built part of their facility kind of like into a mountain, but the mountain has like natural flowing water, and so they'll take some of that natural flowing water and they'll use it to power certain facilities and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely a thing that's possible. I think you just want to make sure you're conscious of that aspect of it. But I know, other than that, I think it's definitely a good idea, and definitely I think chemical engineering or something along those paths, like plastics materials, that would be a good avenue for you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Gibson. And now let us proceed to Mr. Mackenzie.
Thank you. The presentation was good, in my opinion. There's I'm not too savvy when it comes to clean energy and things like that. But what I am good at, building businesses. I own 2 healthcare companies in addition to what I'm doing right now today. And I gotta say that I like what you have here, especially when it comes to time management, discipline. You'll most definitely have to either go out and raise capital or have your own capital and you inject it in your company, right? And take, no income for a while until you build out your overall team and things like that, and surround yourself with the right people. And initially, everybody won't be, perfect, right? So you'll have to fine tune that, build out operations and things like that. I like the fact that you had sales and marketing here, right? Because most of the time, from what I've seen, and Evan and Efren can chime in. Usually the owner, if it's a small business, usually the owner is doing a lot of that sales early on, going out and pitching their service and product to whoever they doing it with, right? In my particular case, I was going to the different doctor offices, the different hospitals and things like that, right? I hired a part-time person to do that. That failed. That did not work, right? Um, but good learning lessons. I even hired different staff members. Some worked out, some different, but I had to realize that everybody is not going to be that A player like I want them to be, right? You're going to have some A's, B's, and C's, right? But then finding good quality people that have the same vision that you have. And then two, making sure that from a strategic standpoint, making sure that you have the right mission and vision for your firm and that you have enough capital. I think some people, when they go into business, they just don't have enough resources, right? And eventually, as time go by, then they run out, right? Versus keeping things really lean, right? I never forget when I was putting together my essay for the University of Chicago to get in that program, and the dean was my mentor, and I was talking about how I wanted to have this big, lavish office and all of this, right? And what he did was he made me rewrite the whole thing over. He said, "No, we don't have big offices or anything like that. What we do is we start off with very, very small offices, and we justify our existence along the way." And I'm glad that he did that. So when I saw your presentation, I just thought about strategy, strategic management, things like that. So those are my only points.
Yeah. And you were right. You did cause some thoughts, particularly around the sales and marketing piece. Sales and marketing is an interesting thing. And one thing I'll say, and I'm not sure if you've explored this, but right, there's also the big consideration between, are you selling to consumers or are you selling to businesses? Because as well, those have different skill sets. I think overall within the sales umbrella, there are certain aspects that are similar, but trying to sell to a business versus trying to sell to 1,000, a million or more customers, individual customers, is a little bit different. Neither is better and neither is worse, but just something for you to consider. As Mr. McKinsey was talking about his two businesses now, I had flashbacks to my first two companies that I had started. And, I realized early on, look, sales B2C is not for me, frankly, and that was okay. And so then kind of having that realization and again, kind of thinking about where do you need help in order to get to where you need to go, and also not being afraid to ask for it. It seems like based on the way you presented that you're pretty self-reflective and pretty honest with yourself there. So I would challenge you to keep that. One other thing actually that came to mind as well is keep in mind you talked as well, obviously financial freedom was point, but you also talked a lot about how your values, your family values, your religious values are close to you and also have partly formed this idea. I think that's honestly very, very good. Having that value system and a good, strong value system that you're also able to translate into your education or your work is also very important. You all got to meet my daughter. We'll see if you get to meet my wife as well. But right, similar for me. I have certain values, and that also helps drive me. And I think over time, what you will find, especially as you get into college and then after college, those values are going to be what help drive you to achieve things that you may not otherwise have thought possible.
Right. Thank you.
Evan, that was great. I tell you, because when you talk about values, and when I think back about how I met Dr. Odom at church, and how I was grounded in church, right? And then I just started wrapping people around my life. You know what I mean? That was had that same type of energy and drive. And even though I wasn't where they were at, they said you could do it. You know, and they held me accountable too. I mean, you couldn't come to the office or make a phone call to them. I had to actually show them that grade. Okay, this is the grade that I got thus far, even though I'm trying to get from where I am now to there. But this is what I got so far. You know what I mean? And that was the first thing they want to hear about, right? So holding yourself accountable and don't compromising your values and your faith or your character, because that's your brand. Once that's your brand, you keep it that way.
Okay.
And you will be challenged.
Oh, yeah, will be.
Hey, once again, thank you so much to our panel of experts for your for those thoughtful comments. Once again, congratulations, Jegu. Good job.
Thank you.
And now for our final presenter in this breakout room is Mr. Iniloa Akunyemi. Iniloa, please take it away.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Unelo Akemi. I'm in grade 12 and I'm from t.Lab, Nigeria. So the title of my vision is increase in the amount of accessible drinkable water. So my purpose is to please and serve God, nurturing myself in God's word and developing my gift to a point of mastery and deploying them to serve God and men, helping men reveal their innate potential by bringing them to a point of surrender and adherence to the Lord and His word. My mission is to lead and pioneer infrastructure and projects as an aeronautical engineer, which will solve society's pressing issues as well as pioneer structures where God's word is taught with value, integrity, and purity, and the kingdom of God is advanced. So my vision is to make one of life's essential materials, clean water, accessible and available for use on a large scale when needed through a unique purification system aimed at reducing the spread of waterborne diseases. A study carried out by the National Bureau of Statistics in collaboration with UNICEF in 2017 showed that 7% of Nigerians had access to impure water, and 55% of them being in the rural areas. About 1.4 million die annually due to consumption of impure water. According to UNICEF, approximately 117,000 children die each year due to this fact, and 69.23% of them being from rural areas. How is water contaminated? Approximately 70% of water in Nigeria is contaminated due to poor hygienic practices. Approximately 70% of the water on earth is salt water. Impure water is majorly caused by improper disposal of waste, and approximately 25% of Nigerians perform open defecation, especially in rural areas. Why is this a problem? About 1.4 million die annually. Approximately 117,000 children die each year, and diarrhea, which accounts for about 16% of deaths in children, is widely spread due to this occurrence. Who is working on this? Organizations like Water in Nigeria, whose focus is to ensure communities have access to clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. Nigeria Integration Water Resources Management Commission, NIWRMC, whose focus is to produce sustainable water management and equitable allocation in Nigeria. The Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency, RUWASSA, whose focus is to provide clean water and promote sanitation in rural communities across different states, and UNICEF, United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, whose focus is to ensure children and families worldwide have access to safe drinking water and proper sanitation. What is my proposal? I intend to create a sustainable machine which works fast and is economical. A sustainable purification machine which works fast and is economical, teaching important and also teaching important sanitary practices to individuals to prevent them from contaminating already purified water. How do I intend to solve this issue? Phase 1, I will study mechanical and electrical engineering at Kettering University, taking part in the bachelor's program. I will take up internships and co-ops at companies like GM, General Motors, to increase my analytical and professional skills and get financial support. I will research on the best processes and method of my water purification system. I will come up with a prototype and carry out various tests. Phase 2, get a master's in aeronautic engineering. While on the program, I will gain more insights from experts. I will fine tune my invention. I will also gather funding, support, and people from various organizations such as WaterAid. Phase 3, I will begin installation and implementation of in rural parts of Nigeria. I will hold seminars and rallies to educate the people on good hygiene and sanitation. I will also plant this system in other countries of the world, such as Canada, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe, which also struggle in accessing clean water. My critical success factors: character development, critical thinking skills, financial relationships, technology skills, analytical skills, and problem solving skills. My 6-month execution plan for the next 12 months: adhere to an academic regimen to obtain technology certifications in Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. 3, increase my ACT score from 20 to 35. 4, increase my effective reading score ERS from 122 to 1250. 5, continue working on my college scholarship and budget planning. 6, attend seminars. 7, get 9 A's in West African Examination Commission. 8, take courses in robotics and mechatronics. 9, work on a purification prototype. Impact of my vision: personal, joy, sacrifice, and fulfillment of God's plan. My family: pride, happiness, support, and lasting health. Community: directly and indirectly. So it affects my community directly by giving them accessible clean water, which is also affordable. It will impact other countries such as Niger, Lebanon, and Chad Republic. It will also allow for less spread of waterborne diseases such as cholera, diarrhea, and even COVID-19. Indirectly, it will reduce child deaths by about 70%, and it will also create job opportunities for upcoming engineers. As I close, I say this: Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic work, Iniloa. Congratulations. And now, panelists, we'd love to hear your thoughts on Iniloa's vision statement. Let's start now with Mr. Gibson.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, great presentation. That was definitely, very well thought out. You had like a timeline, you had, action plans. I could definitely tell you put a lot of time into that. I think the biggest thing for me though that, I can kind of relate to is just wanting to impact your own community, right? Being from Nigeria, wanting to help clean the water in Nigeria, I think that one is commendable, but two, I think when you're working on something and you have a goal, and it's something I guess you're really passionate about, or like affects you and your community, I feel like it tends to help you in pursuing that goal because you kind of, can kind of motivate yourself. Right? You're saying, hey, like I'm trying to help, my community, my people, my own family. So I think that aspect of it is good. I think, second, I think kind of like we've kind of saw some of the other students. I think connections. I feel like for we get into some of these bigger projects like this, like bringing clean water to people. I think that it's definitely key to partner up. I feel like this personally. I feel like whenever you're trying to reach a goal, if you can do it with someone else, it's definitely better for you, right? Because I feel like you can, lift more, you can do more when you have someone next to you. Now, obviously, that doesn't always work out, but if you can do it with other people within your community, like-minded students, I think that would definitely go a long way. One question I have for you though, so I know you mentioned, water purification. You kind of mentioned some of the, habits of the people in Nigeria, along with like maybe some of the way water is in the U.S. When you talk about purification, is it purely you're taking the water that's already in Nigeria and you're trying to purify it, just waterborne diseases and contaminants, or are you also thinking about ways of like take ocean water and purify it too? Because I know you brought up that 70% of the water on Earth is salt water. So I guess is there a distinction there for you, or is you kind of just open to all options?
Okay, so what I'm thinking is to first of all take the local stream water and river water, which is though we have where I am, Lagos is we're surrounded by salt water, but in the rural areas where they don't really have access to salt water, what I will need for in Lagos I will use salt water, but in those rural areas I have to use the local contaminated water.
Got you. Okay. And then when it comes to like some of the habits that people got, because I know you mentioned, defecating in some of the water areas and things like that. Do you think some of those habits are purely just, lack of education, maybe the more just like cultural aspects, kind of things that have always been done? I guess what do you see from what you're aware of as like the main reason for some of the I guess treatment of the water, if you will?
Okay, so the basic reason is culture, because that's what has been done in the past. Since before colonization, since there weren't really any infrastructure like toilets in Nigeria yet, so that's what they practiced. And most of these people have not been educated to know that these are new infrastructure we have. So they basically do that of ignorance. And yeah.
Got you. And then my last question, I understand the mechanical engineering, electrical engineering in undergrad, it's definitely going to be tough. I think you can do it. I think my question is, you said aeronautical engineering for your master's degree, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I guess my question would be, how did you get to aeronautical, and I guess what kind of skills or what skill base do you think that degree would offer you in, providing you with the resources and knowledge to help you solve this issue?
Okay, so the reason why I picked aeronautical engineering is just basically for the I would say the way aeronautical engineers think. They think outside the scope of the normal. So that's the kind of idea I want to build in myself. The ability to think outside what's already been done.
Got you. Love that. I think it's kind of the same way I picked my degree when I was going through, Kettering. Also, I graduated from Kettering, but thinking about engineering for me, industrial engineering, kind of the way that degree will help you solve problems and kind of the way you think about things. I think it's definitely a great way to pick something. Um, Other than that, though, I just want to say, great presentation. I think your 9-point plan is fantastic. Just the fact that you have it kind of laid out, you kind of have goals in mind. I'd also say that you, just a piece of advice, plans change things, as you learn more, you also learn what you don't know. So I think, if you ever have to change your 9-point plan, maybe you have to make it 10 or 5, make sure you're flexible with yourself in order to achieve that goal. But other than that, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gibson. And now let us proceed to Mr. Leon Mackenzie.
Yeah, I think Efren, he touched on so many of the different points. I must say, driven, that's for sure, right? I hear it, very focused, right? Had a this is your strategic plan. That's how I look at it, right? This is your strategy. This is your strategic plan, right? This is something that you want to execute. And I love the fact that you mentioned joy, sacrifice, and God, because trust me, with any business that you're trying to start, it's going to be some sacrificing, that's for sure, right? And you're going to have to pivot here, pivot there. There's going to be some changes, right? And
yes, sir.
And it's going to be how you deal with that along that journey, right? That's going to keep you focused, grounded, and no matter what comes your way, if that's really truly your goal, right? I like that you also had your education in line. You want to get your bachelor's degree from here with this major, get your master's. You had it focused. One thing I would say, whoever is doing this or close to doing this, surround yourself with those other type of people, right? Get that knowledge. Because generally speaking, there may not be someone that's doing exactly this, but it may be someone that's at the top of their game that's doing something close to this or something to that effect. Because to inference point, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you want to surround yourself with the right people. This I enjoyed it, seriously. So I don't have a lot to say. Just just stay focused, you know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mackenzie. And now let us hear any comments and suggestions to Mr. Ivan Lyon.
Yeah. So, quick question, maybe a little bit outside of the official scope of this, but how many languages do you speak?
Fluently, only one, actually. We can't speak my local language fluently, so only one.
Yeah, no, I was just genuinely curious. So one I guess piece of feedback that I would say for the presentation, and frankly, this is something that I see even in investment banking. I think over the first, I'd say half of the slides, it felt comfortable. It felt like you were speaking from the heart. And then, not to say that like it was bad, but I think after a point you got more comfortable reading a little bit more from the slides. So I would just say for you, challenge yourself as you go through presentations. The slides are there, the words are there, and everyone that you are presenting to can read. And this might also be helpful for the other students if they're still listening. But just kind of continue to story. Use the slides kind of as extra information, and you can just continue to speak from the heart. But I mean, it was very impactful. I could tell this is very obviously a topic that is very close to you, which I think is also a very good point to start as you think about ideas and creating things for the future. One question I did have in terms of thinking about accessible drinking water and clean water, have you, through this process, did you explore different types of processes that are in place today to help clean water?
I researched on the different types of ways they purify water. So yes, different methods. Yes.
Cool. And the reason
for the best method.
And it makes sense. And what I would say as well is sometimes I know for me with one of my previous attempted business ventures, there was this drive for me of like, I must do it different. I don't know if you've heard the phrase reinventing the wheel. And I think Mr. McKenzie touched on this a little bit, but I would also encourage you to look at, are there systems in place today? Maybe they aren't perfect. Maybe they can be built upon. Maybe they can be made more effective or cheaper or what have you. But I would also encourage you to, think about those systems that have already either been in development or are in development. I think the only other, one other point, because a lot of things for me come back to money, fortunately or unfortunately, but ideas like this, where again, it's a public service. Access to drinking water is a problem, not just in Nigeria, as you very correctly mentioned, also in the surrounding areas, and frankly, in a lot of places in the world. So I think with that as well, as I mentioned to other students, right, I would encourage you to look at, what programs, what money is out there to support these types of initiatives and these types of ideas. I think other than that, in terms of your idea, your research, your plan, I kind of echo Mr. McKenzie and Ephraim. I think it's very clear that you're driven. One thing I would encourage as well, similar to what Ephraim mentioned, you have a very clear plan. It's very clear that you're driven, and be comfortable as you continue on your journey. If you find that you need to pivot or you need to include something else, or you've already kind of reached a good point on certain points, don't be afraid to be flexible with your plan as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And also, I kind of add one more thing. Evan, you talking about flexibility again, kind of brought it up to me, but similar to like really all of the students, but I guess specifically for this one, make sure when you're trying to create a product, create a service, trying to help a community, make sure you ask that community what they need, right? Because I feel like sometimes, and again, obviously you're in Nigeria, so like you're part of that community, but I feel like sometimes when people try to fix problems, sometimes they aren't always at the epicenter of the problem, right? Sometimes they're, a couple of degrees of separation. And so you go in with good intentions, right? And maybe your good intentions don't always kind of hit the true point or the true root of the issue. So I'll always, make sure you guys understand what the community that you're trying to help or service truly needs. Right? Make sure you always hear them out. Don't tell them, I guess, how you think things should be done, but listen to them about like what would make their lives easier, what would make their life safer, better. So just kind of wanted to say that for you, but then also for all the students that are presenting their projects.
And actually, you've reminded me of something else as well, even though I know I just went. But as you think about your master's program, what I would also, I guess not what I would also suggest as you think about your future and especially with your education, because I think for you, you're looking at going straight from college to master's, which I think is more common outside of the US. So this may be perfectly common for you, and apologies if this does not apply. I would also encourage you, after thinking about after you're in college, thinking about getting some experience. I know one thing for me, I mean, I think when I was in high school, probably, I already knew I wanted to do a master's in the future. I didn't necessarily know what or why. Like, I did not have a plan like you have here. So I think, again, kind of in that vein of flexibility, it could be helpful as well, perhaps getting experience. But again, that may not apply based on where you are. And I know internationally it is more common to go straight from college to a master's program. But I would encourage you to continue to think about that as you continue to develop your ideas and what you need, and you continue to think about your education. And lastly, I expect to hear from you in 2031. I expect to hear about something that you need some investment in.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, once again, congratulations, Iniloa, for a job well done.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, thank you everyone for your engaging presentations and thoughtful feedback. Congratulations to all our students who presented their vision statements, to to Jegu, to Iniloa, and to our panel of panelists. We have Mr. Leon Mackenzie, Mr. Ivan Lyons, and Mr. Ephraim Gibson. Let us give ourselves a big round of applause. Thank you so much. And I think our time in breakout room 3 has come to an end. We will now return to the main Zoom session. So please follow the prompts to rejoin the main room, and see you there. Thank you, and God bless us all.
Yeah, congrats to all the students too. You guys did a good job.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I want to make sure that everyone is in the main session now. So we already have the panel of experts from room 1. I can also see the panel expert from the room 2, and as well as for the room 3. It's perfect. So a heartfelt thank you to each of every student who was able to share their remarkable vision with us tonight. Now, I'd like to turn it over to our panel of experts to share their overall feedback, reflections, insights, and encouragement to all of our aspiring students that we have here. So, to start with our overall feedback, may I please call on Dr. Tony Lyons?
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
I hope everyone's well. We had the pleasure of providing some feedback and listening to the vision of several of the participants, and I tell you, they did a great job. It's magnificent to think that at the age they're at, they're thinking around along the right lines to advance their visions to make them reality for careers. Some of the feedback that that I provided, and that my colleagues, and they'll speak to their feedback, but it was all about enhancing what they had done. They all had very good set of critical success factors, their vision, how their vision impacted their lives, their families' lives, and as well as the stated problem that they were trying to address. Some of the feedback I gave was around, most of them said to increase their grade point average. Some of their critical success factors increase the grade point average to 4.0. I think that is great, and I advised, at least on one occasion, to maybe change the wording a little bit and say maintain a grade point average. 4.0. Things can happen at outside control. Could be an A minus, and that would drop you to a 3.9. And I would hate for someone to feel that they've not met one of their success criteria because they got a 3.9 instead of a 4.0. So I think the idea is to maintain an A grade point average, and not necessarily particularly a 4.0. Some of the research interests talked about some specific areas to hone in on, and not necessarily leave it somewhat generic as technology. But if there were certain particular areas that one was looking to make an impact in, such as providing internet to areas that required that were hard to reach and did not have good internet service, if any at all. Building homes in areas where there were 60% up to 60% of people who did not have homes. All of those particular things, I gave the feedback to look at some specific things. So, for example, instead of a technology certification, if you're looking to be a civil engineer and to build homes in areas, look into specific areas that would be relevant to a civil engineer, such as construction, environmental design, structural engineering design. Early on, maybe the certification instead of Microsoft certification would be a CAD certification, looking at how to use the tools that's going to be really, really relevant for those fields. And the same with the other presenters. But all in all, I mean, very good, very impressive. I think they've done a great job thinking about their visions and relating those to their personal statements on why they wanted to pursue those particular areas and those particular problems.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you,
Tony
Mr.
Lyons.
President.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
President.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and move on to our next panel of experts. May I please call on Mr. Eric Anderson, the founder of Premier Digital and CEO of Grateful Sun Energy.
They were great presentations. Probably the best part for me was seeing kids thinking so much about the future and coming up with ideas and goals of what they want to do that are built around helping others and improving the world for everyone. That's just inspiring. So what I'd remind everybody is while you're pursuing that goal, keep experimenting, keep researching, don't stop learning and asking questions. Don't be afraid to try things along the way. Don't be afraid to fail. It's going to happen. It's not necessarily a bad thing as long as you don't let it stop you. Just keep trying. As you make it through college, look for organizations that are working in the area that your goal is in. Try and work there. Learn from them. See how they work. See what they're doing, and see what they're doing that you could improve. And build relationships at those organizations that you can leverage to get you closer to achieving your goal. And just keep going. These are great ideas that the world needs. So I can't wait to see them happen.
Eric, that sounds like some advice you've learned from experience. Do you mind just sharing just a little bit about some experience you've had with working for a company that was working in the area that you wanted to work in and how you were able to leverage that?
Yeah. So before I had ever really worked at a corporation or a large company, I had always tried to work for myself. And I had an idea early on about bringing movies and television to the internet so that they could be accessible to as many people as possible, and started pursuing that myself, only to then learn that Apple was going to be doing that also. And so instead of getting depressed by that, it worked out that I was able to get a job at Apple and help facilitate that transition for the entertainment industry. By not being arrogant, not being, burdened by my ego, and being willing to say, yeah, I'm going to go here, and with their resources and with their team, I'm going to learn as much as I can. I'm going to always say yes. Try and make myself available to as many people as possible, and just get as much expertise from this amazing group of people as I can, to see if then maybe this is where I want to stay, and maybe I can do my idea here, or learn as much as I can and take that and then go do my idea after I've built all the relationships and gained all the expertise that I got from the environment. And the second path is the one that I chose. I learned a lot, did a lot there, met a lot of amazing people, always said yes. And so those relationships, when I went off on my own, they were there. They were willing to help, ready to talk, and wanted to be encouraging. I think, probably the best thing from my experience that helped me a lot was, people like to dream, people like to hope, and but unfortunately, not everybody has the opportunity to pursue their dreams. Not everybody gets to see their hopes realized. But even if that's true, it doesn't. A lot of times you find that people will want to live vicariously through you then. So, all right, they might not have been able to get what they wanted out of their lives, but they will do whatever they can to help you get what you want out of your lives. So it's have a story, have this, stay true to what you're trying to achieve, build the story around it, and people will want to participate in that story. They'll want to see it happen, and they'll want to know how it's going to end. And so give them that opportunity. Be willing to accept help, and it'll show up.
Thank you. Very good. Miss Maria?
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Anderson, for giving an insightful, encouraging feedback to all of our students, not just for the students, but also to the parents that we currently have on the session. So now let's move on to our next panel of experts. May I please call on Mr. Antonio Varela, Program Manager, Data Policy of GM Financial.
Yes, thank you. Definitely, it was awesome presentations that I've seen. Very good structure, a lot of good thought into a lot of them. Feedback I would give as a whole is slow down on the presentation. Don't skip through the slides. This is your time to get our expertise and for you to have our full attention. So we would love to hear some more expanding on your ideas. So don't rush it too much. Another thing is that big note taking person. I'm a big note taking person. I practice something called bullet journaling that I would highly recommend to a lot of people. With that being said, there was a lot of great feedback, a lot of great tips, a lot of great hints or directions of where people should research and look into for the different projects that they wanted to complete, that were given by all the panels. So I hope that a lot of the contestants or the presenters were able to jot down some of those topics, were able to jot down some of those some of that feedback, so that later on they can go ahead and offline they can go ahead and research those and look a little further deeper into it. But overall, it was a very enjoyable experience, a lot of great presentations, and a lot of great insight.
Thank you. Great feedback. Wow.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Varela. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Varela, you'll still be joining us tomorrow, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, all right, because I want to make sure that you get to witness the rest of our good student with a great presentation of research for tomorrow. So, thank you so much, Mr. Varela. All right. So, let's move on to our next panel of experts. May I please call on Dr. Tamika Thompson-Sloan?
Okay, thank you. Tonight was excellent. As tired as I am so excited to have been a participant and to hear the presentations that I heard. But I am equally, even more excited that they are here on a Friday night. They could be on video games or anything. I know a lot of that is owed to the parents, so I want to say thank you, parents. You have done a good job. And when you get tired, just remember this encouragement. It will very well be worth it. My son is graduating in May from Morehouse. He was a t.Lab student. Dr. Nicholas is there with me. When he got a 4.0 this semester. Excited, sorry, super excited. But I have been in your position. I have cried. I have done all of that. And t.Lab has been amazing for me. And I remember all the Saturdays that we had to get up at least once a month. So what I do want to say is that I'm excited about the resources that your students have and the resources that you are either forcing them to take advantage of or they're taking advantage of it themselves. I heard some excellent presentations tonight. I just want to say that they have come up with these amazing visions. They know their purpose. I'm excited about their purpose, their plan and their preparation for the opportunities. And I'm just going to kind of say what like Eric said. You have to know how to pivot. Things are not going to always work out the way you want them to. Some people get the direct route, some people get the scenic route. But as long as you guys all get there. So I just want to encourage the parents again and say thank you to the students and thank you, t.Lab, for involving me in tonight. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson Sloan.
All
Who's
right. Thank you
next?
so much. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Thompson. Let's go ahead and move on to our next panel of experts. May I please call on Mr. Leon McKenzie, consultant of McKenzie Consulting and DCIIA.
Thank you. I must say that everyone who I had an interaction with this evening was absolutely great. The reason why I say that is because it take a lot. It's not easy put together these. I call it a business plan, strategic plan, strategy. They were all very, very focused, right? And one thing that I like that they said they always it was a theme that I heard. God, family, community. God, family, community, right? That was almost like the core, and really helping others. What I would encourage you to do, with your different businesses, you will have to pivot. There will be change. Nothing will stay the same. It won't be perfect situations. I've owned two healthcare companies, right? So when you're doing that, you might have some people that's doing great. You may have some policies and procedures or strategies that's going good or bad or whatever have you. But align yourself with the right people, right, to get the right situation. And then also, as you're going through your college years, join like Eric said, join those organizations, get involved, right? Raise your hand. That's where you got a chance to roll up your sleeves and really figure it out, right? And make mistakes. And making a mistake is not a bad thing, right? It's actually a good thing because that tells you, when you figure that mistake out, you're able to move forward a couple times better than what you were before, right? But just don't give up, don't give in, right? So again, I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was Dr. Nixon. It was really, really just to it was just amazing to hear, at this level of where they are, to even imagine where they headed to. These are some of the things that they talk about in business school. Seriously, about putting together business plans, strategic plans, and then actually going out with the team and executing that. Right. So I'm appreciative to even be part of this panel this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. Can't tell you how much we appreciate you, and you've just always been such a big supporter, and your feedback is just, I know, gonna be so weighed so heavy by our students, and I know they're going to take what you said, take it to heart, and do it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. McKenzie. Let's go ahead and move on to our next panel of experts. May I please call on Mr. Evan Lyons?
Yeah, thank you. I think first for the finance room, all the presentations were wonderful, well thought out. I think all the students, and this probably goes for all of the other rooms based on what everyone has said. I mean, it's clear all of the students are very driven. They have very clear plans. I think one thing that came up consistently, as Mr. McKenzie mentioned, the importance of having your values. I mean, I love that a lot of the students, clearly said first, money. I think money obviously is very important, right? But at the same time, having the right values in place to put the money to the right things and be able to draw on the right people and the right sources is also really important. I think as well in terms of general themes for the students, as you are continuing to develop, continuing to grow, this was also a common theme in our room. And apologies that from if I steal some of your thunder here, but this theme around flexibility. It's good to have a plan, to act on that plan, and frankly, to think it through very thoroughly. At the same time, you also have to have the flexibility to pivot, to also think about, you don't have to necessarily do everything yourself. You don't have to be an expert in everything yourself. Also continuing to think about who are the partners that can help you get to where you need to go or help you develop your ideas and get them to where they should go. So with that, I think congrats to all the students in my room. And I said this to you all as well, but I expect to hear about some future investments. So.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Evan Lyons, for your feedback to our students. Let's go ahead and move on to our next panel of experts. May I please call on Mr. Keith Young, CEO of t.Lab and valued partner of t.Lab.
Hey, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Great presentation. Great presentation. Super supportive of what your vision is. I guess one of the things I'll tell you is I've been like super busy. My thought is, as you go and start thinking around how you change the world, think about how that looks for individuals and places where resources are not always available. And so very inspired by what you're doing. I'm going to probably dig in a little deeper and have more conversation later about, some of the things that you guys want to bring to light. So thank you for having me.
I just must acknowledge Mr. Keith Young and Ecotech Labs.
Doc, don't do it.
He was just acknowledged by the Biden administration for the work that he's done in the area of STEM. It just so happens that, he produces entrepreneurs and scientists. His students have patents and they just do tons of great stuff. And I think the recognition was certainly just and due. Maybe it should have happened a little earlier, but I can't think of a better person who is really committed to helping young people. So thank you so much for being here to this.
Yes, sir. You got it.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Young. Let's go ahead and move on to our last panel of experts. May I please call on Mr. Gibson?
No, thank you. Definitely, again, want to congratulations to all the students that presented tonight. You can definitely tell you guys put in effort and, time into this. I think one thing that kind of stood out in our room was, I think, kind of touched on this. I feel like all of the issues that you all, saw out were like one issues that can tell that you guys are kind of, perceiving the future, but also things that are like still going to be relevant, right? We talked about like renewable energy. We talked about water for people in need. Think that those things are definitely one for people. I feel like for people your age, impressive to have those goals already in mind, but then two, to kind of have some of the plans that you all had laid out was definitely nice to know that someone's, looking out for us still, right? And I think that, kind of like I've mentioned and, Mr. Lyons touched on, I think that it's always important to try to go in a group, right? I feel like anytime you can have like-minded people around you, you can have people who have different experiences than you, but you can all kind of move together for a certain goal. I definitely think that goes a long way, right? But also, never compromising your morals, right? Being steadfast, being consistent, and then back to that flexibility point, it's so important, right? I think there's so many things that like you plan out in your life or you expect to happen, and maybe they don't go your way, but maybe they're going to go in a better way that you don't even know. But I think if you just stay with it and stay consistent, I think you're always going to end up on top. Maybe not in your timing, but in God's timing, right? So I think that, again, I think all students have a bright future and stuff. I want to encourage everyone to continue pursuing, their passion. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Gibson. We totally appreciate your time. This is all for our experts who've been here to give time to our students to provide their feedback in terms of their aspirations. Now, to complete our session for today, I please call on Dr. Clarence Nixon to provide our closing remarks.
Well, I would be remiss if I don't make comments about Mr. Ephraim Gibson. In probably most organizations in their evolution, they reach a point in their organization where there is a major event that occurs that catapults them to the next level. And I must say that Ephraim Gibson led a team of young people that catapulted us above 30 on ACT. But more than that, I have to talk about the character of Ephraim Gibson. Not only is he just a talented young man, but his character is certainly beyond approach. And so I thank him so. I would embarrass him often by telling him in front of a lot of people that Ephraim is the kind of guy that every dad would want his daughter to marry. And so he is an outstanding young man. I think you read his credentials. And so, if I'm not mistaken, he just got another promotion at General Motors, a graduate of Kettering University. So he led our assault there. And so I just so appreciate Ephraim Gibson. So thank you, Ephraim.
Thank you for the kind words, Dr. Nixon. I mean, you're definitely a part of that too. So I think it goes both ways, but I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, the night has come to an end. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody here. You are looking at, part of over 50 young people who have been working diligently at their craft. They're all working to enhance and improve their academic skills, but at the same time, they all have dreams and aspirations of bringing product to the market, while transforming this world. And as I look at the mentors that we have here today, I know you all and you all each individually in some form or fashion have done just that in your lives. And you certainly have touched me, and I so appreciate each and every one of you. So tomorrow we'll be here. Uh, uh, Parents, students, myself will be here. I think we're starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so I know, Eric, that's if you're here, that's going to be early for you, but I appreciate you if you are. You and Leon
I'm in.
Kinsey. Oh, well, wonderful. Bless you. And we'll be here. And then once again, I thank God for my parents who they put up with me and they put up with my ranting and my pushing. And I just really appreciate them. I hope that they see what we see in their young people. We have some brilliant, brilliant young people here. There are too many here for me to call the names, but I'll just tell you they all are. And so, hey, let's get ready for tomorrow. We'll all be here at 8 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. Let's have a good time and let's encourage this next generation. So with that, may the Lord bless and keep you is our departing prayer. So thank you. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow. Turn it back over to Miss Maria.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Now, again, before we conclude, I am delighted to remind everyone that, again, that will be a Vision Night continues tomorrow with day 2. And we really appreciate everyone, most especially for the mentors that will be giving time for our day 2 session. That's going to be 8 a.m. Eastern time. So we hope that you will join us for another day of inspiration and growth. And if you can invite your friends and family, everyone will be welcome, and we'll make sure that you will be able to see all the inspiring students that we have. So thank you once again for joining us tonight. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Mr. Varela,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Varela, are you still on? I just want to confirm that I heard what you said. So you don't mind if the speeches had been a little longer?
Oh no, not at all. Specifically the slides. I think
thank you.
we can go very quickly on the slides, at least to give us time to read them. But overall, it was awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a blessed night.
I need somebody to clap their hands. Listen. Heard folk talk about